Chapter 1440. Everything is up to my lady. He coughed lowly and said with a guilty conscience, the Beastkin King was originally burned by the flames of the Jade Fire Toad. I helped him with golden needles, but I didn't expect to help him absorb the extreme yang flames and caused a thunder tribulation. If he survived the thunder tribulation, he would be a true divine beast. Even Nangongyu was no match to him. Nangongyu felt that He didn't tell everything, especially the green light that obviously contained a powerful wood spiritual power. He always felt that it had something to do with He. But there were beastkin everywhere at this moment, so he held back the desire to ask. Where's Jade Fire Toad? This was what He cared most about. Nangongyu took Jade Fire Toad out of his arms. Before Jade Fire Toad had never been nourished, it belonged to the most young treasure in the world. Anything, including storage bags, could only be burned by it. After Nangongyu destroyed a storage bag and a bag of crystal stones, he had to keep it close to his body. Only the cold poison on his body could restrain the blazing flames of the Jade Fire Toad. He wanted to reach out to touch Jade Fire Toad, but she was quickly stopped by Nangongyu. But even though Nangongyu's speed was so fast, He's index fingertip was still a little red. Nangongyu's face was so unsightly that it was frightening, but the movement of grabbing He's hand was very gentle. He gently sucked the red-hot index finger into his mouth. He's face turned red all of a sudden. She looked around, only to see that many beastkins had noticed the movement here and looked over one after another. The original burning pain in the hand disappeared, replaced by a burst of coolness. He quickly retracted her hand, only to see that the burn marks on it had disappeared, but it became wet. This guy. But immediately, He's face changed slightly. She grabbed Nangongyu's hand and released spiritual power into it. Sure enough, a bone-chilling chill penetrated into her body, making her shiver uncontrollably. The cold poison has struck ahead of time. Why? After thinking for a moment, He figured out the key to this. Nangongyu could grab Jade Fire Toad with bare hands because he had the cold poison in his body that was at the same level as the Jade Fire Toad. But also because of touching the extreme yang flames, the cold poison that had been dormant was awakened. Just like rivals of the same level competing with each other, the cold poison was activated in advance. He looked solemn. She said calmly, it can't delay any longer. I will find a place to treat you right now. Of course, Nangongyu knew best about his own body. The cold poison in his body was spreading crazily. If there was no Jade Toad fire to suppress it, he would be completely unable to move in half an hour. But just as He trusted him, he also trusted He's medical skills and judgment unconditionally. Hearing this, he didn't feel worried or panicked at all. He just smiled and said, okay, everything is up to my lady. He rolled her eyes at him. This guy can still joke at this time. They were about to leave, but they were stopped by the beastkins. He frowned and said, you said that as long as I save the Beastkin King, the Jade Fire Toad will be mine. Are you going to renege? Absolutely not. The beastkins shook their heads again and again, looking at He with gratitude and admiration. Miracle healer, she has great kindness to us. Let alone a mere Jade Fire Toad, accept Heavenly Mulberry Sacred Tree, even if you want to take all of our treasures. We will never hesitate. Chapter 1441. Huge cost. Although they hated humans, they had heard from Liu that the human in front of them saved the beastkins time and time again. She could be said to be the biggest benefactor of the beastkins in the magical beast forest. Liu said on behalf of the other beastkins, miracle healer if you don't mind, you can perform healing in the magical beast forest. Behind this forest, there is a cave. That place is very hidden. If you need us to protect, we can also. He breathed a sigh of relief. She showed a gentle expression, there is no need to guard us. Please take us to that cave. When she was treating Nangongyu, she would probably use Wood's spiritual power, which couldn't be discovered by any human or beastkin. In the magical beast forest, thunderclouds were still densely covered, but the green light had disappeared without a trace. It could be said that the Feng family had paid a huge cost to get this wood source. Venerable Muhua took out the directional teleportation array and teleported the people Feng Tianba had gathered to the depths of the magical beast forest in one go. The directional teleportation array was the top-level array in Miluo continent. The teleportation distance could reach thousands of kilometers, and the approximate landing point could be specified. However, it would cost tens of thousands of upper-grade crystal stones to activate the directional teleportation array, and it would also require nascent soul stage martial artists to overdraw their lifespan to activate it. So originally, the ancestors of the Feng family left this directional teleportation array to allow the family to escape in times of crisis. For the wood source, Venerable Muhua couldn't care much. If he was one step later and the vision disappeared, it would be extremely difficult to find the wood source. The sky was getting closer to dusk. Because of the thunderclouds, the forest looked dark, giving people a sense of oppression. Feng Yunjing led a dozen gold core stage martial artists and a nascent soul stage elder to shuttle in the forest, inspecting the surrounding suspicious phenomena little by little. Venerable Muhua and Feng Batian had already rushed to the direction where the tribulation thunderclouds gathered. Feng Yunjing and the others led their own teams to guard the surrounding areas. They searched for clues while blocking all possible escape routes of the wood source. From time to time, Feng Yunjing's gaze would look toward the direction where lightning struck. He also really wanted to go there to the wood source as soon as possible. If I can get the wood source myself. Feng Yunjing swallowed with unwillingness and greed in his eyes. Young master, come and take a look. There seems to be something strange here. The subordinate's voice quickly brought Feng Yunjing back from his thoughts. A gold core stage martial artist discovered an extremely hidden cave. When they didn't get close, they might just treat this cave as an ordinary bush. However, when the martial artist looked closely for a moment out of curiosity, he felt a fiery aura rushing toward them. He had retreated as fast as he could, but a large piece of his hair was still scorched. Feng Yunjing also approached the cave, but what he felt was not the scorching heat, but the freezing cold that would freeze his breath. What is inside? He murmured suspiciously, is this where beastkins hide their treasures? Thinking of this, Feng Yunjing's eyes lit up. A long sword transfigured in his hand, and he struck suddenly. The weeds that originally covered the cave made a piercing sound, then they were uprooted by the sword blow. All eyes were on the cave. After seeing the scene in the cave clearly, Feng Yunjing's breath was stagnant. There was a trace of disbelief in his eyes. Chapter 1442, Fated Encounter. Afterward, a smile was evoked on his face slowly. The smile became more and more wanton, more and more vicious. After the bushes were blown away, a spacious cave was revealed. But what appeared in the cave was not any beastkin treasure, but two people. The young handsome man's eyes were closed tightly. His body constantly exuded hot and cold aura alternately. His body trembled unconsciously. Obviously, he was in great pain. And behind the young man, a handsome young man only wearing thin clothes was putting his palms on the young man's back. A light green spiritual power slowly penetrated into the man's heart along his back. The young man's expression was dignified and anxious as if he had forgotten the whole world. His eyes were full of worries about the young man. Feng Yunjing recognized at just one glance that the young man was Nan Gongyu, and that handsome young man like a moon elf was none other than Xiao disguised as a man. Of these two people, one was the man he dreamed of getting rid of and the other was the woman he dreamed of getting. Today, God really favors me and send these two people to me, and it is with this method, ha ha ha. At this moment, the elder walking with Feng Yunjing suddenly exclaimed, Yunjing, look at the green spiritual power circulating in that young man's hand, does it look like the wood source? Feng Yunjing's heart suddenly constricted upon hearing this. Even the other Feng family's disciples stared straight at each other with eyes full of excitement and greed. After looking carefully, they could find that the air seemed to be filled with a vitality that was stronger than in other places. This kind of green spiritual power, even if it was not a wood source, must be extremely precious. Should we notify the patriarch immediately? The elder of the Feng family asked. Feng Yunjing swallowed and said decisively, the venerable and the others are busy, let's catch them first. After a pause, he looked at the elder with eyes full of temptation and suggestion and said faintly, Elder Lu, although the wood source is precious, it is not available to everyone in the Feng family. But if it is only the two of us find the wood source? The elder's eyes lit up. He immediately agreed to Feng Yunjing's suggestion. Not only because of the temptation of the wood source, but also because of the two people in the cave. Their condition didn't seem very good. Especially King of Hell, no matter how terrifying he was at the beginning, now he seemed to be on the verge of death. Feng Yunjing clenched the sword in his hand, walked slowly into the cave, stared at Xiao who was wearing thin clothes. His eyes swept across her delicate face and radiant skin before softly saying, Xiao, do you still remember how you escaped from my hands on the breaking spirit mountain? However, I also said that this was your last chance. This time, I will never let you escape from my grasp. The flame light on Nangong Yu's body flickered, and the temperature in the air rose again. The faces of several gold core stage disciples were red, but to Feng Yunjing from nascent soul stage, this heat was nothing. She frowned suddenly. She increased the output of the wood's spiritual power again, and a hoarse voice came from her mouth, Nangong Yu concentrates. Now is the most critical moment. Afterward, she shouted in a low voice, Little Golden Dragon. Chapter 1443, Vicious. As soon as she called out, Feng Yunjing felt a gust of wind blowing toward his face, making him take a step back involuntarily. In front of He and Nangong Yu, the little ones appeared. The little golden dragon hovered in the air and raised his voice, Boss, don't worry. We will definitely stop these guys. As he said that, his contemptuous and loathing eyes fell on Feng Yunjing. You really won't give up, will you? A piece of trash like you even dreams of touching my boss. I think your brain has been filled with too much shit. Little golden dragon, you're wrong. Little Egg said angrily with his little hooves on his waist, this kind of idiot who asked for humiliation repeatedly and doesn't even know how to write the word ugly, does he have any brains? Chirp chirp chip, it's none of my business. Why even I have to fight? And who are these people? Their smell is so stinky. They should all be burned to death, so as not to pollute the air. Feng Yunjing's face was as gloomy as water. It wasn't the first time he was insulted by these little beasts. As early as breaking Spirit Mountain, he wanted to tear these beasts into pieces. This time, I will never give them another chance to be alive. Just a bunch of beasts. I'll make you all speechless in no time. The long sword in Feng Yunjing's hand suddenly floated up. At the same time, the black flag he had repaired rose up into the sky. Feng Yunjing had fought with these spiritual pets of Xiao. Although he knew that their abilities were very special, he didn't pay them in his eyes at all. But after fighting, Feng Yunjing discovered that the cultivation of these little beasts had improved a lot in just half a year. And the few little beasts had cooperated very tacitly now. Little Dumb Cow was defending, Little Golden Dragon was attacking, Shaoli was in charge of field control, Little Red Bird was flying around to harass them, and Little Egg was responsible for replenishing their beastkin power. 2 nascent soul stage plus a dozen gold core stage were in a stalemate when facing these 5 spiritual pets. Feng Yunjing glanced at Nangong Yu at the side, wondering if he was having an illusion. Nangong Yu's erratic aura seemed to have stabilized a lot. If this gets dragged like this, Nangong Yu's injury will be healed by Xiao. By then, what chance would we have to survive? A glint of sternness flashed in Feng Yunjing's eyes. He suddenly sneered and said, Xiao, do you still remember the kind of intimate contact I had with you in breaking Spirit Mountain? I still remember the delicate fragrance emanating from your body. There has never been a woman who can haunt me so much. When I think of being able to ravage you under my body, I'm so excited. For more than half a year, every night I dream of you lying in my arms. Boom, there was a loud noise. The fiery aura that had stabilized on Nangong Yu's body suddenly tumbled like a storm. Nangong Yu's originally closed eyes suddenly opened. He let out a muffled grunt, and she was ejected away by a huge force. Immediately afterward, a crimson flame burst out from Nangong Yu's dantian, surging into her body. Fiery, burning, incineration. The pain of the soul being scorched caused He to groan. Afterward, the wood's spiritual power in her body instantly wrapped up the heat source as if it was alive. It devoured and melted the heat bit by bit. When He fell to the ground, Nangong Yu had already stood up. Chapter 1444, Regret. It was just that something was completely wrong to him. His one eye was blue and the other eye was fiery red, staring firmly at Feng Yunjing. His body, with the nose as the middle, was half burning and half condensing into froths. Feng Yunjing and the others were stunned. An inexplicable fear surged in their minds. They wanted to scream and run away. But their feet seemed to be fixed by something. They couldn't move at all. Not to mention the people of the Feng family, even Little Egg and a few other little ones were stunned by this scene. Seeing He being ejected, Little Egg wanted to rush over, but seeing Nangong Yu's appearance, he trembled all over. Daddy. Daddy looks so scary. Little Egg is so scared, woo woo. Mother. Little Red Bird, who was the least courageous, fled into the void in panic and got into Xiao arms. Really scary. Really terrible aura. Is he a god or a demon? What is that aura? Why do I feel the despair of destruction? Nangong Yu stretched out his flaming hand and grabbed Feng Yunjing's head. Feng Yunjing's pupils constricted. At that very moment, he gathered his strength miraculously, let out a short scream, and grabbed a disciple to block for him. With the sizzling sound, the Feng family's disciple was burned into ashes without even making a sound. Nangong Yu's other hand grabbed at another Feng family's disciple. Crack, his warm body was frozen into ice cubes in the blink of an eye, then he shattered. Just in the blink of an eye, two martial artists at the peak of the gold core stage were erased. Feng Yunjing regretted it, so regretful that his intestines turned green. He originally wanted to provoke Nangong Yu so that he would go crazy and perhaps die due to the heavy injury. I didn't expect him to go crazy, and even become so powerful. The Feng family's disciples were reduced to ashes one by one in the hands of Nangong Yu. Each of them died so easily, like what Nangong Yu killed was not a high-rank martial artist but an insignificant ant. Elder Lu trembled all over. He suddenly said in a trembling voice, "Run, run now. Inform the great elder." Feng Yunjing didn't want to fight for any wood source at this time. He just hoped to escape quickly. He frowned and woke up from the endless pain. The first thing she saw was Nangong Yu, who had completely lost his mind and changed beyond recognition. In the eyes of others, Nangong Yu was only scary and invincible, but He only took one look, and her heart skipped a beat. Nangong Yu's cold poison was fully stimulated. It was about to devour the lingering flames of the jade fire toad bit by bit. Moreover, with Nangong Yu's attack, the cold attribute of the cold poison would become stronger and stronger. The moment the extreme yang flame was completely devoured, Nangong Yu would be killed by the cold poison. He sat up abruptly and shot the silver needles in his hand toward Nangong Yu. However, before the silver needles even got close to Nangong Yu's body, they were already reduced to ashes. He tried to call out a few more times, but Nangong Yu couldn't hear her voice at all. Feng Yunjing and the others had just escaped to the entrance of the cave, but the crackling sounds suddenly came from the entrance. An ice wall quickly condensed, blocking their way. The exit was blocked, and there was death behind. Chapter 1445, Bone-piercing pain. Elder Lu's face was distorted. His eyes were filled with fear and madness. He suddenly roared, "Since you won't give us a way out, I will fight to the death with you. We are both at the nascent soul stage, I don't believe you can be any stronger than us." A large amount of spiritual power gushed out from Elder Lu. At the same time, the soil in the cave also began to shake. The next moment, a large piece of rock raised from the ground, enveloping Nangong Yu in it. Elder Lu had already pierced his sword toward Nan Gongyu's heart. The long sword pierced into Nan Gongyu's body, and Elder Lu's face showed ecstasy. But the next moment, the ecstasy turned into panic. There was an icy breath from the grade 9 sword in his hand. The sharp blade slowly condensed with frost, then it turned into powder inch by inch. The frost continued to spread onto his body. The last scene Elder Lu saw was a face that was half flaming and half frosty and, the red and blue eyes. They looked indifferent and cruel as if he was looking at a dead man. Ah! Elder Lu's death made the people of the Feng family collapse. Nan Gongyu did not stop, and he walked toward Feng Yunjing. Feng Yunjing was terrified. He was retreating in despair, and he suddenly stumbled and fell to the ground. Don't come over. Don't come over. Nan Gongyu, if you kill me, my father and the Venerable will not let you go. The disciples of the Feng family swung their swords desperately to resist. The fear in their eyes had turned into despair. In their eyes, Nan Gongyu was the god of death from hell, who could kill them at will. But only Heshi present knew how bad Nan Gongyu's situation was at the moment. The flames on his body had become increasingly dimmer. Most of his body had been covered in frost, and his originally red pupil had also turned blue. Just a little longer and just a few more attacks, Nan Gongyu's dantian and fundamental essence would be completely swallowed by the cold poison. Nan Gongyu will die. No. I will never allow this to happen. A hint of determination flashed in Heshi's eyes. She rushed toward Nan Gongyu without hesitation. Mom, don't. Boss, you are crazy. You will be frozen into ice crystals. The little ones were going crazy, desperately trying to stop Heshi, but it was too late. Heshi threw herself behind Nan Gongyu and hugged him tightly from behind. The bone-piercing cold mixed with scorching heat came from Nan Gongyu's body. Heshi could almost hear the sound of his own blood being frozen, and the sound of his flesh being scorched. It hurts, it hurts. It hurts so badly. However, if I let go, Nan Gongyu will die. How can I allow it? Nan Gongyu, stop. Heshi shouted hoarsely behind him, if this keeps on, you will die. I don't want to lose you, do you hear me? Nan Gongyu's original forward movement stagnated slightly, and the cold poison that was spreading seemed to have slowed down a little. A faint hoarse voice came from the cave, Sheer. I want to kill him, Nan Gongyu. Heshi gritted her teeth, trust me, let me handle it, okay? I will kill him and never let him have the slightest chance to humiliate me. You, trust me. Chapter 1446, Arrogant and Smug. The ice-blue pupils flickered for a while, then Nan Gongyu closed his eyes and removed the spiritual power shield on his body. Heshi made a prompt decision, took out the silver needles, and pierced several big acupuncture points of Nan Gongyu. Almost at the moment when the silver needles entered his body, Nan Gongyu's body shook and he passed out. Mom, woo-woo. Mom, are you alright? Little Egg threw himself into Heshi's arms, touched the burn marks on Heshi's body, and cried very sadly. Heshi let out a breath, smiled, and comforted, Little Egg, don't worry, when I clean the wound with Circle of Life tomorrow, it will heal. Don't worry, I'm fine. Now the wood's spiritual power that Circle of Life could purify had been completely exhausted while healing Nan Gongyu. At the beginning, Jade Fire Toad refused to enter Nan Gongyu's body no matter what. It was Heshi who used the wood's spiritual power purified by the Circle of Life to guide it bit by bit with a difficulty. Finally, she managed to slowly merge the Jade Fire Toad with Nan Gongyu's dantian. Who knew that this hidden cave would be found by Feng Yunjing? Everything fell short. Jade Fire Toad was absorbed by her body, and Nan Gongyu's cold poison was triggered completely. His life was on the verge of dying. All of this was caused by Feng Yunjing and his people. Ha, ha ha, ha 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 ha, Feng Yunjing's laughter suddenly came from behind. From the intermittent and shocked at the beginning, he became arrogant and smug later. He thought he was going to die, but he didn't expect Xiao to bring Nan Gongyu down herself. Ha, Xiao, are you interested in me? That's why you took action against Nan Gongyu? Feng Yunjing stood up from the ground, patted the dust on his clothes, and turned back into the aloof young master of the Feng family in an instant. His burning eyes were fixed on Heshi. Xiao, I will never forget your love for me. Hee, as long as you kill Nan Gongyu now, I promise that the position of young madam of the Feng family is definitely yours. Feng Yunjing had already confirmed that Xiao attacked Nan Gongyu was because she had fallen for him. Otherwise, why would she save me from Nan Gongyu's hands? Since Xiao has such affection for him, I will not let her down. The precious wood source is also mine too. Ha! With the help of the little golden dragon, Heshi moved the unconscious Nan Gongyu to a clean rock, then she slowly got up and looked at Feng Yunjing not far away. The cave was still blocked by a thick layer of ice, but without Nan Gongyu's spiritual power containing cold poison, the ice layer was just ordinary ice. A nascent soul stage martial artist could blast it away with a sword. So at this time, Feng Yunjing didn't want to run away at all. Instead, he showed a determined smile and walked toward Heshi. Heshi stretched out her slender fingers, and the Li Shui sword exuding colorful light slowly appeared in her hand. Feng Yunjing looked at the girl in front, and he suddenly felt in a trance. The willow eyebrows were dark without painting, the lips were red without cinnabar, and the bright phoenix pupils had a breathtaking beauty under the light of the ice. Xiao, this is the woman I long for. This is the first woman I dream of getting. Today, I finally got her completely. If she still wants to resist, I will also get her first. Feng Yunjing squinted with a hint of ruthlessness. Heshi raised the Li Shui sword, and it burst into colorful light. Chapter 1447, The Death of Feng Yunjing. The sword flew to the top of the cave, then thousands of swords rained down instantly. Feng Yunjing had seen this move before. Flying flower sword rain. Although it was somewhat interesting, it did not pose a threat to him at all. Swoosh, thousands of sword lights suddenly fell like rain. The young girl on the opposite smirked. The already delicate face was instantly radiant and beautiful. A bad premonition suddenly surged in Feng Yunjing's heart. The next moment, he heard the miserable screams of the remaining Feng family's disciples around him. He suddenly turned his head to look, then he widened his eyes in horror and disbelief. He saw bleeding corpses being pinned to the ground. Their chests had big holes, and their hearts burst. Every corpse was full of disbelief, and their hands were still held stiffly in the air as if trying to grab the sword that pierced them. These are the martial artists at the gold core stage. All of them are the martial artists at the peak of the gold core stage. Li Shui's sword circled around and returned to Heshi's hands. The leisurely sneering eyes fell on Feng Yunjing's shocked face, and a clear voice sounded slowly in the cave. Feng Yunjing, as I said, one day, I will repay the humiliation you did on me on the Breaking Spirit Mountain. So, if you are dead under the others, how can I be happy? You, and Feng Lianying, have to die. Of course, you are all going to die by my hands. Feng Yunjing staggered back. The young girl in front of him obviously looked no more than 17 years old. She looked so slender and so weak, but he felt the fear of extinction from her. Xiao, I just like you. I just want you to be my woman. I even promised you the position of young madam of the Feng family. How could you kill me? How could you? The Li Shui sword whistled toward him and obliquely slashed through Feng Yunjing's Adam's apple. In an instant, blood spurted out, and the panic shout stopped abruptly. Feng Yunjing didn't realize until his death that he actually fell for this woman whom he had been playing with in his hands all this time. He was not reconciled to die like this. After she dealt with Feng Yunjing, she hurried back to check on Nan Gongyu's situation. If it wasn't for the special situation now, she wouldn't let him die so easily. Near Toad Jade Palace, Feng Tianba, who was guarding the periphery and waiting for instructions from Venerable Mu Hua, suddenly felt a palpitation in his heart as if his heart had been grabbed by something. It caused him unspeakable panic. Immediately afterward, there was a pop sound from his chest. Feng Tianba quickly took out the thing. His eyes turned red after seeing it. That was the vital jade pendant of his only son, Feng Yunjing. When the vital jade pendant was broken, it meant that Feng Yunjing was dead. Who killed Yunjing? Who killed my proudest son whom I spent the most effort to train? Feng Beishan's body kept trembling. His eyes stared in one direction. The hatred and anger in his eyes surged like a tide. Would source and the responsibility of the master of the Feng family were completely forgotten by him at this moment. Feng Tianba crushed the shattered jade pendant into powder, then sprinkled it into the air. The powder of the jade pendant flew toward a certain direction automatically. Come with me. Feng Batian greeted all his subordinates and flew towards the direction where the powder was flying. Chapter 1448, Scary Man. At this time, He also fell into a state of anxiety. The cold poison on Nangong Yu's body became more and more fierce, and the extreme yang flames of the jade fire toad that he had absorbed were swallowed up by the cold poison little by little. Even because of the cold poison, no one except her could resist the invasion of the cold. The little ones had long been hiding in the void, not daring to show up. He tried to mobilize the jade fire toad in her body, but jade fire toad seemed to disappear completely. No matter how she used divine sense to look inside and how she channeled her spiritual power, she couldn't even feel a trace of the toad. If this continues, Nangong Yu will definitely die. What to do? What to do? He took a deep breath to calm herself down. Now she had no choice but to channel her own fire spiritual power in her body to see if she could relieve the spread of the cold poison. The pure fire spiritual power circulated in her dantian for one round and slowly condensed in her palm. She didn't realize that when she was channeling the fire spiritual power, she also channeled the circle of life out of habit. The fire spiritual power entered Nangong Yu's body and was instantly swallowed by the cold poison without any suspense. To make matters worse, the cold poison in Nangong Yu's body seemed to have a suction force. When it came into contact with the fire spiritual power, it automatically drained a large amount. She gritted her teeth and continued to channel fire spiritual power. Her face turned pale bit by bit. Her originally rosy lips cracked and oozed blood. Just when He felt that her dantian was getting more and more exhausted, and her strength was slowly fading. Nangong Yu, who was originally in a coma, opened his eyes suddenly. The blue eyes that were originally infected by the cold poison were now deep and dark like the abyss. There was no light in them at all. At the same time, there was the sound of ice shattering at the entrance of the cave. Li Yu was still worried about Shiyu's safety in Toad Jade Palace. The Beastkins only thought that Shiyu rescued them in the Mojing Pavilion, and she later rescued the Beastkin King with medical skills. But they didn't know that the wood source that suddenly emanated from Beastkin King also came from Shiyu. It could be said that Shiyu had the grace of rebuilding the Beastkin clan. After Shiyu and that scary man left, Li Yu considered for a long time, and she finally turned into Yumin Bird and quietly came near the cave. That's right, Li Yu felt that man named Nangong Yu, who was Shiyu's partner, was scary. There was a terrifying coercion on her body, as well as an aura that was like the death that made both human and beastkin tremble. Li Yu was very afraid that Shiyu would get hurt when she was treating the man named Nangong Yu. However, even Li Yu had already thought about the horror of Nangong Yu many times in her mind. When she saw the scene in front of it, she still couldn't help being frightened until her feathers stood up. The cave in front of her was still a place Li Yu was familiar with. She and brother Feng Shan found this place by chance. Many beastkins couldn't discover it. However, this familiar place was completely covered in blood and severed limbs. The strong smell of blood spread throughout the entire. And even the flowers and plants beside withered because of being contaminated with too much evil aura. Standing in this pool of blood was a person in a black robe with an extraordinary demeanor, but he was terrifying like a demon from hell, Nangong Yu. Li Yu saw Shiyu sitting cross-legged in a corner of the cave. At this moment, the bloody man who had killed everyone was walking toward Xiao, her savior, step by step. Chapter 1449, 10,000 years old. Cold Jade Liu was still terrified, but she turned into a human form without hesitation and rushed to Xiao's side. Sister Xiao, hurry up and leave this place with me. It's so dangerous here. I will turn into a bird, and I will take you out immediately. As Liu spoke, she transformed into the Yumin bird that was 10 times bigger than before. The wings could almost fill the entire cave, and the wind and sand mixed with blood filled the sky. The claws quickly grabbed Heshi's shoulders and flew out of the cave. Heshi woke up from the meditation, cursed in her mind, and raised her voice as much as possible. Liu, put me down. All these happened in the blink of an eye. The cave entrance sealed by Nangong Yu's ice was broken, and Feng Tianba led his people in. Seeing Feng Yunjing's body, Feng Tianba nearly went mad. He attacked Nangong Yu and Heshi in a desperate manner. At that time, Heshi was absorbed by Nangong Yu. Most of the spiritual power, the whole is already at the end of its strength. As they were about to be slaughtered by Feng Tianba, Nangong Yu suddenly woke up. This woke up was completely different from when he slaughtered Elder Lu and the disciples of the Feng family just now. Heshi's current strength was close to the late stage of nascent soul, so she could clearly feel that Nangong Yu's strength at this time had far exceeded the soul-splitting stage. The 3 nascent soul stage elders and a dozen gold core stage brought by Feng Tianba were killed in a few simple moves. Many people were torn to pieces by Nangong Yu across the distance. Their internal organs, limbs and blood sprayed all over the ground. At the last moment of death, Feng Tianba couldn't believe that he, the master of the Feng family, would die like this. And the one who killed him was Nangong Yu, whom he looked down upon and thought he had cheated for 20 years. As soon as Heshi uttered the words, Nangong Yu made a move. Yumin bird was the fastest among birds, especially the instantaneous burst speed. However, just as Liu grabbed Heshi and was about to leave the cave, she suddenly felt a sharp pain in his 2 wings. Then she involuntarily changed into a human form and fell heavily to the ground. Nangong Yu's eyes were gloomy and black. He looked at her coldly as if looking at a lifeless object. Whoever wants to take her away, die. Nangong Yu, wait. Heshi rushed over and held Nangong Yu's raised hand. She turned around sharply and sternly said to Liu, get out of here immediately. Seal the entrance and don't let anyone come in again. But. Xiao, he is so scary, Heshi frowned. Little golden dragon. The little golden dragon in the void rushed out quickly, grabbed Liu and moved out of the cave. At the same time, he cast a spell to lift the ground to seal the entrance, leaving only a narrow gap. The cave was instantly darkened. Heshi felt the frosty chill on Nangong Yu's body. It had reached at least -40 degrees. She shivered and grabbed his hand. Nangong Yu, you must immediately. Before she could finish speaking, she was pushed to the ground by a huge force. Her lips were blocked in an instant, and the soft and slippery tongue with a cold breath forcefully pried open her lips and teeth, occupying all her breathing. Heshi took a breath. She felt as if she was holding a popsicle in her mouth and her body was pressed by a 10,000 years old cold jade. Chapter 1450, it doesn't seem to be him. She stretched out and pushed the man away. Nangong Yu, what's happening to you? The next moment, she heard a tearing sound. Half of her clothes were torn off. Her naked skin felt a more bone-chilling chill. Heshi shivered. Her body felt chilly. In the darkness, she raised her head and met those dark eyes, which were darker than the night. She had a creepy feeling in her heart. The man in front of him was clearly Nangong Yu, but it didn't seem to be him. Heshi was terrified by the unfamiliar coercion. She instinctively wanted to struggle and scream. However, the cold hands had already restrained all her movements. The rough palms with thin calluses were groping and kneading her smooth and jade-like skin. There was an obvious domineering and possessive desire. Nangong Yu. Heshi's hoarse calling sounded so abrupt and obvious in the darkness. The originally dark eyes suddenly flickered, and Nangong Yu's eyes showed a hint of struggle. The eyes were stained with ice blue color. Sheer. Sheer. I'm cold. The hoarse voice was full of uneasiness and loneliness. Don't leave me, Sheer. Don't leave me alone. Heshi seemed to be stabbed by something in the heart, and she stretched out to hug the man's cold body. The water light in her eyes was faintly visible. The cold poison was triggered and Nangong Yu's life was at stake, but she couldn't do anything. Jade Fire Toad, the Jade Fire Toad that I finally found, why did it fall short? My medical skills can obviously save so many people, but why can't I save the man loved the most? Desperate anger surged in Heshi's heart. She hugged the man's cold body tightly as if she had endless grievances and unwillingness. She didn't realize that there was a faint red light emitting from her body with a warm temperature. And Nangong Yu seemed to have suddenly found some way to save himself, and he suddenly hugged the soft body of the girl under him. A messy and rough kiss landed on Heshi's neck, his cold body desperately looking for a source of warmth. The sharp teeth bit the delicate skin on the neck, and the warm and sweet liquid poured into the tip of the tongue. Nangong Yu's body stiffened suddenly. At the moment the blood flowed down his throat, he felt the long-lost warmth. He seemed to have finally found the bond that could protect him for a lifetime. It was as if the cold poison that had tortured him for more than a dozen years had suddenly disappeared without a trace. It also seemed that he had obtained everything he desired most in the world. In the silent night, only the sound of sucking blood remained. The moment Heshi's skin was torn by the bite, her consciousness felt chaotic. Her eyes were heavy and could no longer be opened. Finally, she fell asleep. In the dark night, Nangong Yu propped up his body and held the unconscious girl tightly in his arms. Even if it was pitch black, he could clearly see the girl's long eyelashes hanging down. The eyelashes were stained with crystal water droplets. Even in the dark, the soft white skin exuded a fascinating shimmer. I obviously hug her in my arms, but it isn't enough, far from enough. I want more. I want to own such a wonderful person forever. I will never let her leave my side. The scorching palms covered the girl's smooth skin, wanting to devour her desperately. But there was a voice in his heart that said, no. Not now. Nangong Yu lowered his head and hugged the girl tightly into his arms. His heavy and tired eyes were slowly closed, but his hands did not let go at all. They tightly guarded like a giant dragon guarding his treasure, not allowing anyone to covet. Find out what happens next by getting early access to chapters. Please do check out the community goals as well. Thanks for the support. Click here to access our Patreon page. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know, report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 1451, Ferocious Smile. The Beastkins were nervously watching the advancement of the Beastkin King. No one noticed that the misty smoke spread silently in Toad Jade Palace. When Beastkin noticed, they couldn't hold on any longer and fell to the ground one by one. People of the Feng family came out of their hiding places laughing, looking at Venerable Muhua with admiration and awe. This was their patriarch. The alchemy master who was 1 foot stepped into the soul-splitting stage, Venerable Muhua. Venerable Muhua, you are so powerful. Even the rank 9 Beastkin can't resist your drug. Venerable Muhua stroked his beard and said with a leisurely smile, my soul-enchanting smoke is an ancient prescription from the upper realm. Not to mention Beastkin, even the soul-splitting stage martial artists can't resist it. The magical beast forest is indeed terrifying and unfathomable. Venerable Muhua glanced around and smiled with contempt in his eyes, but only because of the rank 11 Beastkin who is advancing, and the heavenly mulberry sacred tree's protection. But now, the demi-divine beast has lost its combat effectiveness and the heavenly mulberry sacred tree has been damaged. The protection range has shrunk. Do you think these little beastkins can pose a threat to us humans? Ha ha ha, one of the elders of the Feng family laughed. In terms of strength, these beastkins' cultivation is of course higher than ours, but in terms of shrewdness, these beastkins are simply stupid and vulnerable. Seeing that these beastkin were easily knocked out, the great-grand elder of the Feng family had a bad premonition for some reason. But since Venerable Muhua said that it was fine, he swallowed the words that came to his lips. The great-grand elder bowed and said, "The Venerable, what should we do with these beastkin? Should we kill them on the spot?" Venerable Muhua narrowed his eyes slightly, and a flash of burning greed flashed in his eyes. "No, someone above wants these beastkins, and the price is very high. You all control these beastkins, but you must ensure that they have no ability to resist. I'll deal with them later." Ensure that they could not resist? That was to cut off the hands and feet and even peel their skin and sever their tendons. Other methods were not necessarily safe for the beastkins with powerful physique. This was obviously an extremely cruel method, but it was as simple as killing a chicken for the people of the Feng family and Golden Wolf. The members of the Feng family responded quickly. And Venerable Muhua looked at the man in a red robe above. His eyes flashed, and his body trembled excitedly. "This is what I want. The wood source aura emanates from this rank 11 beastkin. At usual times, I can't deal with this beastkin. But at this moment, this beastkin is advancing, which is the weakest period. As long as I kill this beast now, the wood source will be mine." Ha ha ha. Thinking of this, Venerable Muhua didn't hesitate any longer. He soared into the air and flew straight toward Venerable Muhua. His palm had transfigured a weapon that looked like a sword but not a sword. A flat and long sword, but with serrated edges on both sides. If this sword penetrated into a person's body, it could put out all the internal organs when drawing out. Moreover, the blade was smeared with poison. Anyone who was stabbed by this sword, no matter if it was a human or a beastkin, it would die a miserable death. A ferocious smile appeared on Venerable Muhua's face. The wrinkles that usually disappeared because of his solemnity and dignity now appeared on his face like ugly reptiles. Find out what happens next by getting early access to chapters. Please do check out the community goals as well. Thanks for the support. Click here to access our Patreon page. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 1452, The Consequence of Self-Righteousness. I'm already hundreds of years old. If I still don't break through, my lifespan will soon come to an end. But I haven't enjoyed enough of the wonderful taste of power. How can I be willing to die of old age? However, it is different with Wood Source. I will definitely break through and return to my youth. At that time, let alone Miluo continent, I will even have a place in the Siam continent. The long sword full of barbs stabbed fiercely at the Beastkin King whose eyes were closing. Venerable Muhua smirked, waiting for the pleasure of splattering blood and flesh. But the next moment, he met a pair of mocking eyes. The sharp sword tip stopped half an inch away from Beastkin King's heart as if it had encountered some resistance. Venerable Muhua's eyes widened. A trace of unbelievable horror quickly passed through his mind. He raised his head and looked up, only to see that dusk was approaching, but the thunderclouds in the sky had dissipated at some point. The lightning and thunder just now was gone like a dream. Ah! The terrified screams of the disciples of the Feng family came from below. When Venerable Muhua looked down, he saw those beastkins who were unconscious just now unexpectedly woke up. They were slaughtering the disciples of the Feng family one by one with sinister smiles. Venerable Muhua only felt that his breathing seemed to be stagnant. He stared at the Beastkin King stiffly. He wanted to withdraw his long sword, but found that he couldn't move a single bit. You lied to me. You have already completed the thunder tribulation. The young man in a red robe stretched out his slender white hand and grabbed the long sword full of barbs. With just a light force, Venerable Mu Hua's sword was snatched away by him. The Beastkin King sneered slightly, but there was a ferocious hint in his eyes. Even if you humans are despicable, do you think we will fall for the same method successively? Hee, you really think we Beastkins are fools? Since you are all so self-righteous and think that you can benefit from us Beastkins, then taste the consequence of your self-righteousness. As soon as he finished, that slender white hand suddenly turned into an ice-blue claw that resembled a dragon claw. With a puff, it pierced through Venerable Mu Hua's heart. Below, the toad beastkin surnamed Pang turned into a huge toad, crushing a Feng family's disciples into meat paste. Then he turned into the human form again, wiped the blood splattered on his mouth, and sneered, "Fortunately, miracle healer, she left some medicine for us before he left." TSK, these human beings think their drugs are so powerful, but compared to miracle healer they are still far worse. At this time, the disciples of the Feng family also saw Venerable Mu Hua, whose heart had been pierced by the Beastkin King in midair. At this moment, the luck and fear in their minds turned into horrific despair. They screamed and fled in all directions. Even the respected elders of the Feng family were the same. At this time, no one laughed at the stupidity of the Beastkins, and no one coveted the wood source. When Toad Jade Palace and the mysterious cave were in dire straits, the people of Miracle Healer Academy were still waiting anxiously and panicked. The elders of the Doctors' Association had been tied up one by one with natural silk. Lu Jishi and several Pioneer Branch students who had fought against Shiyu were also restrained. Lu Jishi was still in a coma, so she couldn't explain for herself, but those in the Pioneer Branch were not reconciled. Find out what happens next by getting early access to chapters. Please do check out the community goals as well. Thanks for the support. Click here to access our Patreon page. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know, report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 1453, Scared Witless. We are also students of Miracle Healer Academy, and Shiyu is also a student of Miracle Healer Academy. How can you treat us like that? A beautiful girl among them said proudly, "You guys better let me go. I just saw the unique contact signal of our Feng family. That can only be used by the master or elder. The people of our Feng family are in the magical beast forest now. Perhaps the thunderclouds and abnormalities deep in the forest were also caused by our Feng family. When the time comes, the elders of our Feng family will not let you go if they know you treat me like this." This girl was also a talented and intelligent disciple of the Feng family. Although she was not as famous as Feng Lianying, she was actually more talented. She was carefully cultivated by the great elder of the Feng family. The elders of the Doctors' Association were already desperate, but when they heard the girl's words, they all beamed with joy. The Feng family and the Doctors' Association were in a close relationship. If the big shots of the Feng family really came to the magical beast forest, then even the Miracle Healer Academy couldn't deal with them casually, let alone a mere Shiyu. Several elders of Miracle Healer Academy looked at each other with a bit of hesitation. After losing Luli's sect, Feng family's strength had been reduced a lot, and their prestige was not as good as before. But a lean camel is bigger than a horse. If the Feng family really came to the magical beast forest with all their forces, Miracle Healer Academy would definitely suffer heavy losses in a fight with them. Just as they were hesitating, several figures suddenly rushed in this direction. There were also hoarse and excited cries for help and a strong smell of blood. The people of Miracle Healer Academy looked at the source of the sound. When the girl surnamed Feng from the Pioneer Branch saw the appearance of the people, she immediately exclaimed, "That's the third elder and ninth elder." Afterward, she was immediately overjoyed. "See? Those are the elders of our Feng family, and they are all at the nascent soul stage. If you are sensible, release me now. Otherwise, when my Feng family's large force arrives, they will never let you go." Before the girl finished speaking, several black shadows flashed behind her suddenly. Afterward, the people of Miracle Healer Academy watched one elder of the Feng family, a martial artist at the nascent soul stage, being torn in half by the shoulders. Blood and internal organs splattered. One claw grabbed the heart and swallowed it. The people of Miracle Healer Academy stared blankly at this scene. They couldn't believe their eyes. Help me, help me. It's Beastkin. Hurry up, another elder of the Feng family screamed desperately and fled in their direction. However, before running a few steps, he was grabbed by another Beastkin again. His body was also torn apart, and his heart and dantian were swallowed. For a while, there was silence in the dark forest. Everyone held their breath. Seeing the Beastkins slowly approaching and the bloodstain on their mouths, they were almost scared out of their wits. Zheng Shouyue also looked solemn, blocking all the people of the Huang medical branch behind him. Beastkins, a lot of Beastkins, and almost all of them are above rank 7. There are even rank 8 and 9 magical beasts hidden around. Rank 7 Beastkin can fight against the martial artists at the intermediate stage and later stage of the nascent soul stage. What about rank 8 and 9? Zheng Shouyue couldn't imagine that if these Beastkins wanted to attack them, how many of his students and elders would escape alive. Find out what happens next by getting early access to chapters. Please do check out the community goals as well. Thanks for the support. Click here to access our Patreon page. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 1454, Make Yourself at Home. The leader was a rank 9 tiger beastkin with big ears and a square face. His face was full of murderous intent. He looked at the people of the Miracle Healer Academy coldly and said faintly, "It's another group of hateful humans. We might as well slaughter them all. I just found out that my beastkin power has increased a lot after devouring human hearts and dantian." As he spoke, he grinned and walked toward the people of Miracle Healer Academy step by step. Zheng Shouyue drew out his long sword. The elders of Miracle Healer Academy were filled with fear, but they still stepped forward one by one and stood in front of the students. They were ready to perish together with the Beastkins. But before the tiger Beastkin took 2 steps, a chubby young man behind him slapped him on the head. "What nonsense are you talking about?" The chubby young man said angrily, "Don't you sense the smell of Miracle Healer Shi on them?" The tiger Beastkin was taken aback by the words, and he sniffed vigorously. There was really a herbal smell that was unique to Shiyu. The tiger Beastkin suddenly felt embarrassed, looked nervously and guiltily at Zheng Shouyue and the others, and said in a rumbling voice, "Sorry, it turns out that you are the friends of Miracle Healer Shi. Sorry for bothering you. We are just here to hunt down some enemies who invaded the magical beast forest. Just make yourself at home." Zheng Shouyue and the others were dumbfounded all of a sudden. Everyone looked at each other in blank dismay, but they couldn't react to it for a long time. What's the situation? The Beastkins who were so vicious just now suddenly apologized to us. Moreover, just a few hours ago, didn't they deploy the confinement space, magical beast, and corpse puppet poison on us? Why do these Beastkins become so friendly in the blink of an eye? What happened? Deputy Dean Jiang took a step forward and looked at the tiger Beastkin cautiously and nervously. "May I ask who is Miracle Healer Shi you are talking about?" The tiger Beastkin was about to say something, but the chubby young man behind him covered his mouth and dragged him away. The Beastkins came fast and went fast. Only the people of the Miracle Healer Academy were left standing there in a daze. They were at loss. In fact, everyone had a question in their minds: is the Miracle Healer Shi that the tiger Beastkin is talking about? Shiyu? Just when everyone was wondering, the guard against the Doctors Association, Lu Jishi and others were naturally relaxed. Suddenly, a gust of wind mixed with fallen leaves and dust swept in. Deputy Dean Jiang and others were caught off guard and had no time to cast the protective shield cover, and their eyes were instantly blinded by the wind and sand. The students were staggered by the strong wind. They had to support each other so as not to be blown away. After the elders of Miracle Healer Academy cast the protective shield and dispersed the wind and sand, everyone looked around. Their expressions immediately became extremely ugly. The elders of the Doctors' Association who were originally bound, as well as Lu Jishi, disappeared without a trace. Someone must have rescued them. Zheng Shouyu gritted his teeth and said angrily, maybe it's the people of the Doctors' Association. Deputy Dean Jiang sneered and said, Doctors' Association, Lu Xiyang. We will definitely settle the scores with them when we return. The elders of the Doctors' Association were bound all over, and their spiritual power could not be used. When they felt the dust and wind coming, they were involuntarily blown to this side and could only keep calling for help. However, when they opened their eyes, they saw something unexpected. This was a rare hill in the magical beast forest. A man in a long robe stood on the top of the hill. The bloody sunset shone on his slightly pale face. His usually refined and elegant face now looked blurry. Find out what happens next by getting early access to chapters. Please do check out the community goals as well. Thanks for the support. Click here to access our Patreon page. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know, report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 1455, Swear Allegiance to the Death. But the elders of the Doctors' Association and the students of the Pioneer Branch recognized this man at a glance. President. The elders of the Doctors' Association straightened up in joy. Even though the natural silk on their bodies had not been untied, they still wanted to kneel down excitedly. It turned out that the wind just now was caused by the president. It was to save them. The president's great kindness and virtue, we will never forget it. If president has any order, we will execute it without hesitation. Even the people of the Pioneer Branch thanked Lu Xiyang happily, looking at him with reverence. This was the president of the Doctors' Association. The legendary figure known as the first person among doctors. How lucky they were to be saved by someone like that. The only person in the audience who was still unconscious was Lu Jishi. Lu Xiyang's expression was gentle. His pale face looked weak and thin under the setting sun, but no one noticed that his eyes were flickering with dim light. He walked slowly in front of one of the elders of the Doctors' Association, knelt down, and made a gesture to help him up, but he said gently, "Are you really willing to do anything for me?" Of course, we will never forget the president's saving grace. It was the first time for this elder to be treated so kindly by the president. His body trembled with excitement. Lu Xiyang smirked with a hint of greedy light in his eyes, and he said slowly, "Since you have such awareness, that's great." Before he finished speaking, the elder of the Doctors' Association suddenly widened his eyes and showed a terrified expression. It wasn't until this moment that he realized that Lu Xiyang's hand was attached to his dantian. There was a powerful force that was absorbing spiritual power and life force from his dantian. "President, you. He let out a hoarse cry, and his eyes filled with disbelief. He desperately channeled dantian, trying to get back the spiritual power and vitality that had been taken away. However, it was too late. He could clearly feel his skin wrinkled. His flesh and blood were sucked away. His whole body became dry and cold. The last thing the elders saw was that Lu Xiyang stood up with a leisurely smile, his originally pale complexion became a little more rosy. And he himself became a mummy and fell dead to the ground with a thud. For a moment, everyone was stunned. They watched this scene in disbelief, and it took a while before someone screamed, "President Lu, what are you doing?" Lu Xiyang opened his shirt and looked at it. The huge wound that appeared after being attacked by Nangong Yu had indeed healed a lot under the nourishment of vitality. He showed a satisfied smile, glanced at everyone, and said with a faint smile, "Didn't you say that you would swear allegiance to me to the death? Now, your chance has come." Lu Xiang, where did you learn the evil method? Are you not afraid of suffering retribution for taking away the life force of others like this? President, how could you treat us like that? We are all your most loyal subordinates. The gentle smile on Lu Xiang's face suddenly turned ferocious and fierce. When he raised his hand, one of the elders involuntarily flew into the air and got caught in his hand. If you want to blame Xiao. If I'm not injured until the wound can't heal itself, I wouldn't think of using you to nourish my wound and dantian. Find out what happens next by getting early access to chapters. Please do check out the community goals as well. Thanks for the support. Click here to access our Patreon page. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 1456, Red Pill, but fortunately, the effect is not bad. It is your honor to be able to die for me. As soon as he finished speaking, the elder in his hand turned into a mummy again, and Lu Xiang threw it on the ground. 1, 2, 3. As Lu Xiang devoured more and more people, more and more mummies appeared on the ground. The elders of the Doctors' Association and the students of the Pioneer Branch desperately wanted to scream and flee, but the natural silk had sealed their spiritual power, making them completely powerless to resist. In less than 10 minutes, everyone present was devoured by Lu Xiang. On Lu Xiang's originally delicate and gentle face, there were creepy dark red patterns around his eyes. He originally gave people the impression of a gentle scholar, but now he looked more like a devil. His body was exuding a dark aura, looking completely different from the original Lu Xiang. Lu Xiang walked slowly to Lu Zixi, who was the only one who didn't turn into a mummy. Lu Zixi seemed to be still in a coma, but her trembling body and shoulders betrayed her. Lu Xiang smiled faintly. What's the matter, Zixi? Are you not happy to see father, Zixi? Lu Zixi trembled all over his body, stood up abruptly, threw herself in front of Lu Xiang, and cried, Father, I didn't see anything. I really didn't see anything. Please let me live. I will never disobey father. Lu Xiang looked at the rotten wound on Lu Zixi face. The ferocious flesh and black rotten flesh mixed together. When he cried, it kept twitching. The look was disgusting. If his daughter had the advantage of being beautiful in the past, now she really had nothing left. Lu Xiang touched the healed wound on his chest and smiled lightly. I'm full now, and I really don't need to devour you anymore. However, I, Lu Xiang, never raise useless people, even my own daughter. Father, I won't be useless. Really? I would do anything for you. Also, didn't you say that Xiao harmed you? No one in the world hates Xiao more than me. Father, believe in me, I will definitely avenge you. The light in Lu Xiang's eyes flickered. He spread his palm, and a tiny red pill appeared in his palm. If Zixi is really willing to be obedient, swallow this thing. Looking at the red pill, Lu Zixi felt an inexplicable panic in her heart. Father, this is voodoo. The beastkin power and spiritual power in Lu Xiang's body mixed and surged, quickly covering up the terrifying bloody patterns around his eyes. He returned to the gentle and elegant President Lu. As long as you eat it, you can restore your appearance. Otherwise, how can you help father with your current appearance? I will never keep a useless person. Voodoo? Lu Zixi was shocked. Of course, she knew voodoo. It was one of the unique skills of the Master of Thousand Poison Valley from the Upper Realm. Each type of voodoo had different effects. She had even seen someone who changed from ugly to beautiful after taking the voodoo insect. But Lu Zixi also knew that all those who swallowed the voodoo would not end well. Once the voodoo entered the body, one day it would devour the person in return. Great news! We're thrilled to announce a special 7-day trial exclusively on Patreons. Chapter 1457, You animal. By that time, she would only die horribly or be absorbed into a mummy. Thinking of the terrible ending after swallowing the voodoo, Lu Zixi trembled with fright. Her body kept moving back. But then, she couldn't help touching her face again. There was rot and pus, and it was itchy and painful. Even the corpse puppet poison would break out at any time, turning her into a terrifying monster. No. Instead of bearing such an ugly face for the rest of my life, I would rather die a miserable life in the future. At least before I die, I must make Xiao, that bitch, suffer the same pain as mine. Thinking of this, Lu Zixi's eyes blazed with flames, and without thinking about it, he reached out to take the red pill and swallowed it. As soon as the voodoo entered her body, Lu Zixi let out a scream. She felt her chest and abdomen being bitten by thousands of ants. Father, father, help me, help me. Lu Shuyang looked down at Lu Zixi struggling and howling, but there was no emotion on his face. Instead, there was a leisure smile. After bursts of heart-piercing screams, the voodoo completely took root in Lu Zixi's body. Lu Zixi also recovered her original beautiful appearance, even her skin was more flimsy than before. Her facial features were more gorgeous and delicate than before. Lu Shuyang smirked with a hint of satisfaction and cold smile in his eyes. Good, then you are qualified to give those people as pets. Zixi, you are the stepping stone for father to knock on the door to a higher power. Don't disappoint father. When Nangong Yu woke up, he saw only darkness. There was a faint thin slit of light coming in from not far away. Nangong Yu sat up slowly while pressing his aching head. As soon as there was a movement, the little golden dragon outside the cave noticed something and immediately shouted anxiously, Boss, boss, how are you? Are you okay? While talking, he lowered the boulder that originally sealed the entrance of the cave. The fresh air in the morning and the dazzling light came in together, allowing Nangong Yu to see the scene in front of him clearly. Seeing this, his breathing almost stopped. He saw a sleeping girl lying in his arms. The girl's black hair was loosened and spread between his legs. Her clothes were messy and torn, revealing her snow-like skin. But on this snow-white skin, there were many traces like red plums. The smooth skin looked even more gorgeous this way. Nangong Yu gasped. He quickly took out the clothes and covered the girl. His sharp eyes swept toward Little Golden Dragon and Li Yu, who flew in, wishing to tear these two guys who peeked at Xiao into pieces. Little Golden Dragon didn't notice Nangong Yu's anger at all. He was also stunned when he saw this scene, then he thought of something and said angrily, How can you do this to boss? You animal! I will fight to death with you. While yelling, the little golden dragon's figure suddenly became bigger as he rushed toward Nangong Yu fiercely. Nangong Yu just casually waved his hand, and Little Golden Dragon was swept aside. Little Golden Dragon jumped up and didn't notice any injuries on his body, then he immediately wanted to pounce toward Nangong Yu again. At this moment, Heshi in Nangong Yu's arms frowned and opened her eyes. Xiao. Boss. Miracle Healer Shi. Great news. We're thrilled to announce a special 7-day trial exclusively on Patreons. Chapter 1458, Nonsense. 3 exclamations sounded in unison in the cave. They rushed toward Heshi nervously. The few little ones in the void were blocked by Heshi when Nangong Yu went mad, so they didn't know what happened outside. Heshi gritted her teeth and opened her eyes. She couldn't help but gasp. She just felt sore all over her body, and the pain on her neck was even more burning. As soon as she opened her eyes, she met Shang Nangong Yu's nervous, worried, and guilty eyes. Those dark eyes were full of the reflection of her appearance. Unlike the usual eyes, those eyes seemed to be burning with scorching flames as if they wanted to devour her. Heshi blushed. Nangong Yu was straightforward in expressing his emotion, but his eyes had never been so naked like this. Boss. The little golden dragon jumped into Heshi's arms and angrily complained to her, Boss, this bastard bullies you. He has gone too far. You must beat him to death. Bastard bullying me. He was startled. She couldn't react to it. Nangongyu suddenly tightened his arms around her and said hoarsely, Sheer, I will take the responsibility. We will get married when we go back. Excuse me? He was dumbfounded. What the hell is going on in this early morning? As Nangongyu spoke, real joy emerged on his face. Even the two-way gloomy eyes shone brightly as if the joy in his heart could no longer be concealed and was about to overflow. Sheer, don't go back to Miracle Healer Academy anymore. We'll go back to Jinling Kingdom City for the wedding right away. No. If you don't want to go back to Jinling Kingdom City, we can go to Miracle Healer City for the wedding ceremony. I want you to become my wife right now. I will announce to the entire Miluo continent that you are the mistress of the King of Hell Mansion. Wait. Wait. He quickly interrupted Nangongyu and jumped out of his arms. Feeling the empty coolness under Nangongyu's loose clothes, she blushed. She hurriedly took out clothes from the void and put them on. She bit her lip, suppressed the strange shyness in her heart, and glared at Nangongyu angrily. What taking responsible? You don't talk nonsense. Nothing happened to us last night. Little Golden Dragon and Liu looked at her in disbelief. After all, the scene just now was too intriguing. Even Nangongyu took a step forward, hugged her into his arms, stroked her supple cheeks, and said softly, Sheer, I have proposed to you so many times, and we even did that, you still don't want to marry to me? He blushed with anger, punched his chest, and said angrily, Nangongyu, don't talk nonsense. I don't believe you don't remember what happened yesterday. Nangongyu. Of course I know. Even if I'm not fully aware of what happened last night, but whether Sheer and I did. How can I not know? However, such a good opportunity for Sheer to marry him early, how could Nangongyu let it go? He gently stroked the wound on the side of Heshi's neck, feeling pity and guilt in his heart. I clearly promised to protect Sheer, but who knew that I would let her suffer this kind of injury for me? But it won't happen in the future. I can feel that the cold poison in his body has been completely suppressed. Although it hasn't been expelled, it won't recur for at least 10 years. From now on, I will protect Sheer and never let her suffer any harm. Great news! We're thrilled to announce a special 7-day trial exclusively on Patreons. Chapter 1459, There is still time. Nangongyu lowered his head and kissed her forehead. He blushed even more. She became a little annoyed. Little Golden Dragon and Liu were still watching. But when she turned around, she found that Little Golden Dragon and Liu had disappeared at some point. They either left on their own or Nangongyu chased them away. Nangongyu pressed Heshi's face and said with a smile, Does Sheer mean that something must happen between us for you to marry me? Heshi, Nangongyu put his arm around her slender waist, brought her into his arms, and said in a hoarse voice, It's okay if Sheer refuses to admit what happened last night and refuses to take responsibility to me. We can do it now. There is still time. Bastard. This guy is clearly fooling me. Heshi kicked Nangongyu away and turned to leave, but she was pulled back by Nangongyu. His dark eyes stared at her with burning flames. His eyes were full of solemnity and pleading, Sheer, are you willing to marry? Seeing the deep eyes, handsome face, and light-colored lips, Heshi felt that her breathing quickened inexplicably. She could hardly hear the voices that were close at hand. However, before Nangongyu's proposal was finished, Liyu's voice suddenly came from outside the cave, Miracle Healer King. Our king wants to ask to see you. Miracle Healer can you meet him? Heshi snapped back to her senses and woke up from the bewilderment of Nangongyu's eyes. Her cheeks were hot all of a sudden. She hurriedly pushed Nangongyu away and said in a loud voice, I'll be there right away. After speaking, she didn't look at Nangongyu again and escaped from the cave almost in a panic. Nangongyu's face was ashen. He looked at the entrance with cold eyes, but he still followed sullenly. Heshi followed Liu, but strangely, they didn't go in the direction of Toad Jade Palace. The three of them flew for a long time. Liu didn't stop until they saw a huge tree emitting silver light from afar. He looked at the trees shining with silver light, and she was dazzled for a moment. She had never seen any tree that could grow so beautifully. The branches and leaves of the tree were like brilliant fireworks. Miracle healer she, this is the treasure of our Beastkin clan, the heavenly mulberry sacred tree. Liu respectfully bowed in the direction of the sacred tree before saying to He. It really is heavenly mulberry sacred tree. Nangong Yu's tone was a little more serious. He also saw the record of heavenly mulberry sacred tree in record of everything. It was said that the heavenly mulberry sacred tree had the ability to protect and pray for the living beings. Within the aura emanated by the sacred tree, the living beings were more likely to gain wisdom and protection. The most surprising thing was the heavenly mulberry holy fruit produced by heavenly mulberry sacred tree. The effect of the heavenly mulberry holy fruit was very simple. That was immortality. No matter how badly injured a person was, even if his heart was broken, his dantian was damaged, or even his internal organs were emptied, as long as there was still a trace of vitality left, he could live after taking the heavenly mulberry holy tree. However, the person would be in a vegetative state forever. Liu was about to speak, then Nangong Yu's face changed slightly, and he pulled He to take a quick step back. Immediately afterward, a young man in a red robe with fluttering clothes was descending slowly from midair. Despite He's calmness, she couldn't help being stunned when she saw the young Beastkin King at this time. The young man who was already charming looked even more alluring now. Great news! We're thrilled to announce a special 7-day trial exclusively on Patreons. Chapter 1460, Dragon Knight. The originally inconspicuous tear mole at the corner of the eye seemed to be a little redder now, projecting a soul-stirring charm under the sunlight. The young man walked forward slowly, suddenly reached out to grab He's hand, slightly raised it above his head, knelt down on one knee, and bowed to her. The deep magnetic voice like dewdrops passing through the clear bamboo leaves, giving a chilling and itching feeling one's mind. Beautiful lady, I will never forget your life-saving grace. No matter what you want me to do, even if you want me to contract of life and death with you, I have no complaints. He's first reaction was that the young man was dressed in red like fire, but his hands were frighteningly cold. The next moment, Nangong Yu had already pulled He back into his arms. Hostel looked at the flirtatious and charming young man, and said coldly, she is my woman. How dare you let Xiao sign the life and death contract with you? I will kill you, believe it or not. The so-called life and death contract is generally a partnership. Don't think I don't know. The young man in red shrugged his shoulders and smiled, glanced at Nangong Yu meaningfully, looked at He with fluctuating eyes, and said, my name is Ran Yi. Beautiful lady, may I call you Xiu? The corner of He's mouth twitched. She thought to himself, please, just call me Xiu. If you call me beautiful lady again, I'm going to get goosebumps. A smile flashed across Ren Yi's eyes. He ignored the murderous intent emanating from Nangong Yu's body and showed a solemn expression of gratitude on his face. Xiu, we Beastkin clan owes you a great kindness today. No matter what is your request, as long as I can do it, our Beastkin clan will never refuse. Even if you want to sign a spiritual pet contract with me and let me be your mount, I will not refuse. Mount? Dragon Knight? He widened her eyes slightly, but a trace of longing really flashed in her heart. In her previous life, although she didn't have much time to read novels for entertainment, she knew more or less when she was doing missions. Dragon Knight, what a majestic name this is. The smile in Ren Yi's eyes was even bigger, but two guys were completely upset. Nangong Yu straightened He's face and said threateningly, Sheer, I don't allow this guy to be your contracted dragon, let alone ride on him. If you dare to sign a spiritual pet contract with him, I will kill him now. The little golden dragon, who had already returned to the void, also jumped out angrily. He was stomping in the air furiously. Who said that the boss is going to sign a contract with you? If boss wants a dragon mount, she can sit on me. I will soon become a real golden dragon. Boss, you are not allowed to sign a spiritual pet contract with an annoying and coquettish guy, absolutely not. He grabbed Nangong Yu's hand from her face and said with a smile, he is the majestic Beastkin King, a divine beast that has been promoted to rank 12. Do you think he will really become my mount? Can you two calm down? Ran Yi's eyes flickered. A deep and magnetic voice sounded with a hint of a smile, Xiao, it hurts my heart too much for you to say that. I'm really willing to be your spiritual pet. He didn't show the slightest touch, but she half smiled and looked at him. The premise is that I can help you cure the disease of heavenly mulberry sacred tree, right? The smile on Ran Yi's face froze. Li Yu couldn't help exclaiming, miracle healer she, how do you know? Great news. We're thrilled to announce a special 7-day trial exclusively on Patreons. Chapter 1461, Condition. He was smiling without speaking. She was just playing with Nangong Yu's hand while looking at Ran Yi casually. It wasn't until Ran Yi, the Beastkin King, was slightly sweating on his forehead, that He said calmly, I'm a doctor. Although I don't know much about the symptoms of the spiritual plant, the heavenly mulberry sacred tree is no longer considered a simple tree, but an intelligent creature. Whether the spiritual power and breath fluctuation of each intelligent creature is disordered or sick, I can more or less tell the difference. Ran Yi stared at He in a daze for a long while, then he let out a breath and said, miracle healer she is really capable. He suddenly bent down and bowed deeply to He. His tone was sincere, and the enchanting smile just now was no longer on his face. Miracle healer she, heavenly mulberry sacred tree is as important and precious to our Beastkin clan just like a mother. If the heavenly mulberry sacred tree dies, it means that the Beastkin of in the magical beast forest will also perish. I only hope that miracle healer she can save the sacred tree and our Beastkin clan. Your great kindness, we will never forget it for the rest of our lives. He folded her hands on his chest and said with a leisurely smile, I remember, you Beastkin King still owes me a life-saving favor, right? Now you owe me another favor of saving your mother, are you sure you can pay them back? Ran stood up suddenly. The pair of peach eyes were sparkling, looking charming and also persistent. Even if miracle healer she asks me to devote my life and marry you, I will never refuse. Nangong Yu drew out his long sword and said with a sneer, why don't I let you pay for it with your life? Ran Yi glanced at Nangong Yu with a dimmed glance, soul-splitting stage. You haven't been mixed with any upper realm breath, and you haven't gone through the tribulation. I admit that your cultivation strength is really good. I'm really not your opponent before I have gone through the tribulation, but now. I'm afraid it will not be so easy for you to kill me. Nangong Yu's eyes were cold and his lips curved slightly, try it, then you'll know. He quickly grabbed Nangong Yu's sword-holding hand and made a pause gesture to Ran Yi, Beastkin King, I don't need you to devote your life to me. I hope you can help me save a Beastkin. Beastkin? He didn't wait for Ran Yi to ask again, and she waved and released Wu Qi who was sleeping in the void. Xiao Li came out together with Wu Qi. Ah! Li Yu couldn't help exclaiming when she saw Wu Qi, King, he's the brother of the wolf clan. A trace of surprise flashed across Ran Yi's eyes. He didn't know this little wolf beastkin, but he had a familiar beastkin heritage aura that belonged to their magical beast forest lineage. Moreover, this little wolf beastkin's talent was very good, but now it had been hollowed out by people. He was almost relying on something to stay alive, otherwise he would have died already. When Ran Yi's eyes fell on Xiao Li, his astonishment turned into shock in an instant, the nine-tailed silver fox. She also belongs to our magical beast forest lineage, but she is actually the nine-tailed silver fox that is rarer and nobler than me, the pterosaur. Where did these two little guys come from? They obviously belong to our lineage, but why have I never seen them before? He pointed at Wu Qi and said, if you can cure him, I will consider you repaying the grace of saving your life. Ran Yi looked at He with complicated eyes and said a hoarse voice, Xiu, they are beastkins, why are you being so nice to them? Even if you don't let me save this little wolf beastkin, I can't watch my people die. Great news! We're thrilled to announce a special 7-day trial exclusively on Patreons. Chapter 1462, Terminate the contract. He frowned and said naturally, they recognize me as their master, believe me, follow me, and treat me as a relative and friend, so I of course give them shelter. There is no why. Does it matter whether they are human or beastkin? Ranyi was stunned for a while, then he murmured after a while, yes, it really doesn't matter. He suddenly smiled and said slowly, okay, Xiao, I promise to save him. And because of you, I will cancel the revenge action against human beings. Even if I really want revenge, I will find the real mastermind and will not involve innocent people. He glanced at Wuqi, can you cure Wuqi? Ranyi smiled faintly. He spread out his slender and fair hand, and a few green beads appeared in his palm. He was startled, would Vitality Pearl? Originally, I didn't necessarily have a solution. Ranyi said, but there are quite a few wood vitality pearls in the storage bags left behind by the people from the upper realm. Although they may not necessarily be extracted from the body of this little wolf beastkin, but with my current ability, there is still a way to purify the inherited bloodline in the wood vitality pearl and reintegrate it into the little wolf beastkin. Perhaps after waking up, the little wolf beastkin's talent will decline and his cultivation will drop a lot, but at least he can survive. As soon as Xiaoli heard that Wuqi could survive, tears welled up in her eyes. She knelt down to Ranyi, it's enough as long as it keeps my brother alive. Brother Blue Dragon, thank you, Wu, thank you. Ranyi was stunned slightly. I have been the Beastkin King for decades, and this is the first time someone calls me Brother Blue Dragon. This little girl is only at rank 5, can she see through my original form? He took a breath before smiling and said, little girl, if you want to thank your master Xiao. Before Ranyi finished speaking, Xiaoli threw herself into Heshi's arms, weeping with joy while hugging her waist. Rescuing Wuqi was not in a hurry. Ranyi asked Liu to find someone to take Wuqi to the bottom of the heavenly mulberry sacred tree, where there was abundant vitality. It could make Wuqi recover better. Ranyi looked at Xiao and pleaded more solemnly, Miracle Healer Xi, the heavenly mulberry sacred tree has reached the period when it bears holy fruits once in 1,000 years. As long as you are willing to cure the heavenly mulberry sacred tree, we Beastkin would like to offer half of the holy fruits to you. Heavenly mulberry holy fruit was rare. Its value was unmeasurable by crystal stone even in Siam continent. It was not a small gain to get half of the holy fruits. Heshi smiled and said, I can help you cure heavenly mulberry sacred tree, but I still have 2 conditions. Ranyi hurriedly said in joy, please tell. First, during my treatment, except for Nangongyu, no other beastkin or people can come near me. Ranyi was taken aback. Suddenly, he remembered the powerful vitality he felt when he was promoted. Something flashed in his mind. He nodded in agreement immediately without thinking too much about it. Secondly, I hope that after I revive Heavenly Mulberry Sacred Tree, you can terminate the life and death contract between me and Xiaoli. As soon as Heshi said this, Xiaoli straightened up from her arms, looked at Heshi with red eyes in disbelief, and said in a hoarse voice, Miss, why? You don't want Xiaoli? A blue light flashed in Ranyi's eyes. He glanced at Heshi and Xiaoli, and he was slightly shocked. You actually signed a life and death contract with this little fox beastkin? Great news! We're thrilled to announce a special 7-day trial exclusively on Patreons. Chapter 1463, Xiaoli's tears. Many humans would sign a contract with beastkin, but almost no one would sign a life and death contract, usually a master-servant contract. How many human beings would be willing to live and die together with a beast? Xiaoli didn't seem to hear Ranyi's words, but she just grabbed Heshi's sleeve and said with a panicked face, Miss, you were just joking, right? You won't abandon Xiaoli, right? Heshi reached out and touched Xiaoli's head, and she said softly, Xiaoli, I believe you can feel it too. You can't get any greater improvement by following me, whether you are in the sealed dragon domain or by my side. But this magical beast forest has a great fit with your beastkin power. As long as the heavenly mulberry sacred tree is cured, you will definitely be able to get a good improvement if you stay here. In other words, as long as you stay here, you and Wuqi can only improve. Of course, Xiaoli has long felt the kindness and attachment to this magical beast forest. Even, when she saw heavenly mulberry sacred tree, she felt like returning to her mother's arms and she was reluctant to leave. But, so what? No matter how kind the magical beast forest is to me, it can't compare to Miss who saved me and cared for me. Xiaoli held Heshi's hand and said in a sobbing tone, Miss, I don't want to become stronger, I just want to stay by your side. Don't drive me away, okay? Heshi glanced at Wuqi and said, even if you can bear it and stay strong, but after your brother wakes up this time, his body will become very weak. Only by staying in the magical beast forest can he heal his injuries better. He has no ability to protect himself now. Are you willing to leave him alone? Xiaoli took a look at Wuqi who was still in a coma, and she immediately burst into tears. She couldn't bear to leave Miss, and she also couldn't bear to leave brother. Silly girl. Heshi hugged her into his arms. She couldn't help but whisper, the magical beast forest is not far away in another world. Even if you and Wuqi stay here, I can still come to see you. When you two are strong enough, you can also come to me. We will always have a chance to meet again. Xiaoli raised her tear-filled face, grabbed Heshi's sleeve, and said with an aggrieved face, but why does Miss want to terminate the contract with me? It's like Miss doesn't want me anymore. Heshi smiled and glanced at Ran Yi. After sensing Ran Yi's meaningful gaze, she smiled and rubbed Xiaoli's head. The life and death contract was originally just to save you, so I had no choice. But now that we are going to separate, if the life and death contract is kept, it will become shackles instead. If one day I'm seriously injured and you are at the moment of breakthrough, your vitality will be passed on to me, and your breakthrough will fail at that time. In turn, Xiaoli, you also don't want that when I'm at a critical moment, I'm dead because my vitality automatically flows to you, right? No. No. Xiaoli doesn't want Miss to die. Xiaoli hugged Heshi nervously, feeling extremely aggrieved in her heart, but she still sobbed. Xiaoli is willing to terminate the contract with Miss, but Miss, don't forget Xiaoli. You must come and visit Xiaoli in the future. Heshi also felt sour in her mind. She even wanted to throw the little girl into the void and never let her out again. But in the end, she endured it, patted Xiaoli on the head, and asked her to accompany Wuqi to the heavenly mulberry sacred tree first. Great news! We're thrilled to announce a special 7-day trial exclusively on Patreons. Chapter 1464, Grateful, why don't you tell her that you want to terminate the contract with her so that she can better inherit her beastkin bloodline? Maybe even become the king of this magical beast forest one day. Heshi turned her head to meet Ran Yi's deep eyes, and she said with a faint smile, it doesn't matter. As long as I know that she is doing well, that's enough. Since breaking through and activating the wood source, Heshi had a feeling of spiritual connection with this magical beast forest. Therefore, as soon as Xiaoli appeared in the magical beast forest, she felt that Xiaoli belonged to this forest. Moreover, Xiaoli's inherited bloodline was extremely noble, so noble that she would one day stand at the top of this forest, so noble that she was destined to be a king by birth. However, if Xiaoli still signed a life and death contract with her, regardless of whether Heshi would bring the crisis to her, not all beastkins in the magical beast forest would agree to a human spiritual pet to become their king. When she signed the contract with Xiaoli, she just wanted her to live a good life. She never treated Xiaoli, Little Egg and the rest as spiritual pets. Ranni clenched his fist and put it on his heart and bowed slightly toward Heshi. His movements were graceful and elegant like flowing clouds and flowing water, but his expression was very solemn. Xiu, please let me express my gratitude to you again. Afterward, he raised his head and said with dignified and serious eyes, this time, for real, do you want me to be your mount? Even without a contract, I'm willing to serve you for 100 years. What responded to him was Nangongyu, who swept his long sword across the air, and Heshi's helpless smile. Heshi stood under the heavenly mulberry sacred tree. There was no beastkin beside her. Only Nangongyu was by her side. But Heshi didn't try to heal the sacred tree, but she looked at the handsome young man not far away who was emitting green light from his body. Heshi looked at the young man with eyes full of doting and pity, just like looking at the most important relative in the world. Nangongyu looked down and saw her eyes looking at the young man, and jealousy surged in his heart. In Xiao's heart, the most important thing was definitely this younger brother, even he had to stand back. This made him even more determined to marry Xiao immediately when they got home. Nangongyu narrowed his eyes. He decided to start preparing for the wedding as soon as he returned to Jinling Kingdom City. But before that, he had to inform those people of his decision to marry Xiao immediately. No one could influence his decision. After a long time, Xiaoqi, who was sitting in front of the heavenly mulberry sacred tree, finally opened his eyes slowly. He blinked his long eyelashes, moved his hands and feet again, and felt indescribably comfortable all over. The heavenly mulberry sacred tree above also swayed. The branches and leaves made a rustling sound. The five-color luster of the leaves flowed as if expressing their own comfort and gratitude. Xiaoqi didn't understand why he was so comfortable. He only knew that his sister told him to channel the circle of life under the tree and inject green spiritual power into the tree, and he did it. Xiaoqi quickly ran to Heshi's side, rubbing against Heshi's neck like a cute pet, and then obediently lay down on her lap. "Sister, it's done." Facing the young man's clear, crystal-like purple eyes, Heshi's eyes unconsciously showed a gentle and doting smile. She gently stroked the young man's soft hair. "Xiaoqi did a great job and helped sister a lot." Great news! We're thrilled to announce a special 7-day trial exclusively on Patreons. Chapter 1465, Prophecy. Xiaoqi immediately frowned happily. His clear eyes were like amethyst reflecting the light of the sun. He rubbed Heshi's hand on his face and murmured coquettishly, "Sister likes it." Xiaoqi is so happy. Heshi smiled and said, "Xiaoqi will also practice the technique that sister taught you every day without interruption, understand?" Xiaoqi nodded obediently. Every time Xiaoqi channeled the circle of life, he also felt comfortable all over. Originally, he couldn't cultivate, and he couldn't help his sister, but since he practiced this technique, he felt that he became more powerful and smart. Xiaoqi didn't care if he was powerful or not. As long as he could help his sister, he would be very happy. After sending Xiaoqi into the void, Heshi prepared to leave with Nangongyu and told Beastkin King that her mission had been completed. As they had just taken a step, Heshi suddenly heard an old voice, "Wood Source, please wait a moment." Heshi stopped and looked back, but she didn't see anyone talking. Nangongyu asked, "What's wrong? Did you hear anything, Wood Source? Humans can't hear my voice, and neither can ordinary beastkin. Only you, I can talk to you." Heshi suddenly looked at heavenly mulberry sacred tree and said in disbelief, "It's you talking to me? A tree can actually talk." "It's me." The heavenly mulberry sacred tree shook its branches and leaves, and the old voice sounded again, "Can I speak to you alone?" After a pause, heavenly mulberry sacred tree added, "It's just that you and I. The man next to you and your spiritual pets can't listen." Heshi frowned. She somehow felt that there was urgency and worry in heavenly mulberry sacred tree's voice, as if it wanted to tell her something important. After hesitating for a moment, she let Nangongyu leave first. The little ones in the void were also released and let Nangongyu take them away. Although Nangongyu was full of doubts, he couldn't feel any danger around, so he didn't disobey Heshi's decision in the end. After Nangongyu and the others left, the heavenly mulberry sacred tree shook its branches and said urgently, "I can sense that a dangerous aura is approaching you. It is a greedy person who wants to snatch your wood source. You must be careful." Heshi frowned. She thought of Lu Xiang who had escaped. Lu Xiang said at the beginning that the wood source was on her body. Although he hadn't confirmed it and the wood's spiritual root had not been detected on her, it was obvious that the person was not dead. He was a huge hidden danger to her. He looked up at Heavenly Mulberry's sacred tree. Is this your prophecy ability? Yes. The old voice was a little tired, but it was also grateful. Our Heavenly Mulberry Sacred Tree clan has the ability to protect, pray, purify, and prophecy. It's just that I'm too weak. I was infected before I became adult, so I can't grow into the real Heavenly Mulberry Sacred Tree. Without you today, the wood source, in a few years, I will be completely infested with filth and wither. So in order to thank you, I tried the ability of prophecy. But the result is chaos. Wood source, I can't see your future. I only know that it is very dangerous. He let out a breath slowly. I know. I will be careful in the future. Sacred tree, thank you. The Heavenly Mulberry Sacred Tree shook violently, then the fruits on it fell down. Great news! We're thrilled to announce a special 7-day trial exclusively on Patreons. Chapter 1466, Your Mission. Before the fruits landed on the ground, they jumped onto Heshi's body spontaneously. They even went into her void right away. These Heavenly Mulberry holy fruits are important to Beastkin, but they are not necessary. I will give them to you, hoping to help you escape the catastrophe. Heshi looked up at the Heavenly Mulberry Sacred Tree and saw that there were only 3 Heavenly Mulberry holy fruits left on the Heavenly Mulberry Sacred Tree. She was dumbfounded. Rani originally promised to give her half of the Heavenly Mulberry holy fruits, but now, the sacred tree gave her 90% of it. If Rani found out, he won't be mad, right? However, she would not refuse the kindness of the sacred tree. She solemnly thanked the sacred tree. Heavenly Mulberry Sacred Tree said again, Wood Source, if you don't mind, you can take a piece of my branch. Because the wood source in your body, as long as you keep it by your side and plant it well, one day it may become a real Heavenly Mulberry Sacred Tree. Heshi was taken aback. Break your branch? Wouldn't you be weak then? Why would you help me to such extent? Heavenly Mulberry Sacred Tree gently shook the branches, and a broken branch fell into Heshi's hand. The branch and leaves were still emitting silver light, which dazzled Heshi's eyes. But Heshi had an illusion that this branch and leaves seemed to be very happy after it was in her hand. Heavenly Mulberry Sacred Tree's voice became weaker, but it was very happy. Wood Source is the source of power for all creatures in the world, especially plants, birds and animals. Only when the wood source survives well, can the grass and trees flourish. The wood source that is taken away is just a tool. A cluster of energy that is used. It cannot make everything grow. It can only destroy all natural creatures. So, you must protect the wood source. That is your mission. It is also the prayer of all creatures in the world. Until Heshi regrouped with the people of the Miracle Healer Academy, she was still thinking about the words of Heavenly Mulberry Sacred Tree in her mind. The branch of the Heavenly Mulberry Sacred Tree had been planted in the ancient rhyme spiritual field. Little Egg, Little Golden Dragon and Little Red Bird went crazy with joy when they saw Heavenly Mulberry Sacred Tree. Seeing Heshi's puzzled face, Little Red Bird even despised her with disgust. In Little Egg's words, that is the Heavenly Mulberry Sacred Tree. If you live with the sacred tree, you will get good luck and blessings. Especially the beastkin, its strength will improve by leap and bound. Even Little Dumb Cow, who was usually dull and silly, liked to get close to the sacred tree. The spiritual herbs in the ancient rhyme spiritual field, which were already growing well, were happily swaying branches, leaves and flowers. Even the man-eating bees finally started to build a nest on the golden Bodhi tree. Before that, the man-eating bees didn't regard the void as their own territory. Apart from collecting honey, they kept trying to find a way to return to their nest every day. Heshi was also speechless. She didn't expect that the branch of the Heavenly Mulberry Sacred Tree would have this effect. She just didn't know if those holy fruits were really so miraculous. He didn't ask Xiao to see her off. She just told Ran Yi to take good care of the little fox. The people of the Huang medical branch were naturally overjoyed to see He safe and sound. Zheng Shouyue even stroked his beard and smiled delightedly. As for Deputy Dean Jiang, they felt a little complicated to see Shiyu. This was 17-years-old young man was once kicked out of Heaven Medical Branch by them and insulted and rejected by many students, but in just a few months, he shook and changed the entire Miracle Healer Academy. Great news! We're thrilled to announce a special 7-day trial exclusively on Patreons. Chapter 1467, Back to Miracle Healer Academy. Advanced from the Foundation Establishment stage to the Gold Core stage, could dispel the corpse puppet virus, healed the soul-searched people, and now she even saved more than half of the elders and students of the Miracle Healer Academy with her own power. And her strength had surpassed most of the elders. Deputy Dean Jiang didn't even know what attitude he should use to talk to this unusual student. Student Shiyu, would you like to go back to Miracle Healer Academy? Of course. Why don't you want to go back? Zheng Shouyue was anxious when he heard that. He grabbed He, pulled her sleeve tightly, and said with a fierce gaze, Old man Jiang, what do you mean by that? Shiyu contributes the most this time. He is also the treasurer of our Huang medical branch. Do you still want to drive him out of Miracle Healer Academy? If you dare to drive Shiyu away, I will go with him. We will go too. Huang Medical Branch shouted without hesitation, wherever Shiyu goes, we will go too. Deputy Dean Jiang's face was flushed. He said embarrassingly and angrily, what nonsense are you talking about? How could I drive Shiyu away? Shiyu's current ability has far surpassed the elders like us. I just want to ask Shiyu if she is still willing to stay at Miracle Healer Academy. When Deputy Dean Jiang said this, everyone was dumbfounded. Zheng Shouyue pulled a bunch of his beard off, but he didn't feel any pain at all. Instead, he frowned tightly. The people from Huang Medical Branch stared at Shiyu nervously, for fear that she would say not going back to Miracle Healer Academy. Not to mention Huang Medical Branch, people of the other branches were also staring at Shiyu. After this disaster, Shiyu was like a savior in their hearts. She had become an idol that most people admired and yearned for. No one wants his idol to leave, right? He smiled slightly. Under Zheng Shouyue's anxious gaze, she slowly said, I haven't finished reading many books in the Miracle Healer Academy library. At least until the end of this year, I will not leave Miracle Healer Academy. He's words made everyone present breathe a sigh of relief. Deputy Dean Jiang said even more excitedly, Shiyu, don't worry, when you go back, I will give you the highest authority. You can borrow any books from the library at will. Except for top-secret materials, it doesn't matter even if you want to make a copy of all books. I just hope that Shiyu, you can occasionally help the students of our academy in their cultivation if it doesn't bother you. The students of Huang Medical Branch used to be trash before. However, after Shiyu entered Huang Medical Branch, they improved quickly. 2 of them even advanced to the Gold Core stages in just a few months. How could he not be excited by this? He smiled, neither refusing nor agreeing. Seeing that He was still willing to stay at Miracle Healer Academy, the people of the Huang Medical Branch jumped up excitedly. All of them wanted to accompany He to walk out of the magical beast forest. However, meeting the cold eyes of Nan Gongyu who had disguised his face again, the group of people shrank back immediately. They didn't know how strong this man was, but the aura exuding from him was really terrifying. But this man's behavior of monopolizing Shiyu was really annoying. They really wanted to throw him out. He glanced at Nan Gongyu, whose eyes were somewhat gloomy, couldn't help but hold his finger, and said in a low voice, Are you angry that I'm going back to Miracle Healer Academy? Great news! We're thrilled to announce a special 7-day trial exclusively on Patreons. Chapter 1468, Wuliang Mountain. Feng family. Nan Gongyu looked down at her and snorted, Anyway, you don't care about me at all. You would rather go back to Miracle Healer Academy than marry me. He blushed and looked around to make sure no one was paying attention, then she quickly stood on tiptoe, kissed Nan Gongyu on the face, and said in a low voice like a mosquito, "It's not that you don't want to marry, it is just that I really have a lot to learn at Miracle Healer Academy. Many of the books there have been of great benefit to her. Moreover, Nan Gongyu and I have only known each other for a year after all. We should at least wait a little longer to marry." At least wait until I graduate, right? Nan Gongyu's eyes lit up when he heard the words. The joy and smile on his face couldn't be concealed. "Sheer, you said that yourself. Soon, you will be my bride." He froze for a moment. As she was about to explain, chirping sounds came from the sky. A yellow yumin bird and a fiery red bird flew down from the sky. One flapped its wings and flew in front of He while the other unceremoniously stepped on He's shoulder. Liu handed the inscribed jade slip held in her claw to He. He frowned slightly. She didn't check the content in the inscribed jade slip, and she just sneered. It seems that Ouyang Haoshuan and Xian Wu have already made their moves. Nan Gongyu's expression remained unchanged. He stretched out his hand to caress He's smooth cheek and smiled slowly. "Feng family, it's time to completely disappear from the Miluo continent." Wuliang Mountain, Feng family was in chaos now. Iron Kirin shuttled between the buildings in an orderly manner, sealing off all the paths. All the disciples of the Feng family were arrested one by one. In the past, this was the realm of immortals that everyone yearned for, but now it was the land of hell that was about to overturn. Those who were tied up and thrown in front of Xian Wu and Ouyang Haoshuan were the remaining elders and direct descendants of the Feng family. They all stared at Ouyang Haoshuan and Xian Wu fiercely. One of the elders with the oldest age and the highest cultivation level was the only remaining nascent soul stage martial artist of the Feng family. He was also the great elder of the Feng family. He glared at Ouyang Haoshuan with a poisonous gaze and said in hatred, "Sinister and shameless boy, if you didn't use despicable means, how could I fall into your hands?" Ouyang Haoshuan's eyes were cold without any fluctuations, but he sneered, "Despicable means? Do you mean that I used your grandson and granddaughter to threaten you? You shameless coward! Fight me if you dare!" Ouyang Haoshuan had a barbed whip in his hand, and he whipped it at the great elder. The voice was cold as if it came from hell. "It turns out that you Feng family also know what shamelessness is. When you tortured my parents and used my parents' death to force out the fire element spirit pearl, did you ever think about what it means to be shameless? Fire element spirit pearl." The great elder's eyes widened suddenly. He looked up and down at Ouyang Haoshuan as if he had seen a ghost. "You're Ouyang Haoshuan. You didn't die. How can it be? Those who trigger the fire element spirit pearl will inevitably be swallowed by the flames and reduced to ashes. Why did Ouyang Haoshuan not die?" Ouyang Haoshuan stepped forward slowly with a half-smile. "What? Disappointed to see that I didn't die." The whip in his hand whipped out with a swoosh. "Great news! We're thrilled to announce a special 7-day trial exclusively on Patreons. Chapter 1469, Revenge Taken. A fiery flame burst out from the end of the whip. The great elder felt a burning pain in his chest. He couldn't help screaming loudly due to the pain. That flame was the real fire of extreme yang that could melt the hardest things in the world. The great elder channeled his spiritual power desperately, almost using half of his fundamental essence to barely be able to extinguish the flame on him. However, he soon discovered that the originally indestructible golden silk on his body had also been burned to ashes. He was free. The great elder laughed loudly. "Ouyang Haoshuan, king of hell Nan Gongyu. Just wait for it. When I regroup with the venerable and patriarch, we will definitely tear you to pieces. Today humiliation you did to our Feng family, we will repay it thousands of times in the future." The great elder and everyone in the Feng family on Wuliang Mountain still didn't know about it. The large force of the Feng family had been completely wiped out in the magical beast forest. Only Venerable Mu Hua, whose half dantian and heart had been hollowed out, managed to escape like a dog. He no longer had any power to resist. The Great Elder was about to run away after finishing his harsh words. Ouyang Haoshuan just smiled slightly. A quaint and elegant long sword, Red Lotus, slowly appeared in his hand. Just when the Great Elder thought he was about to reach a teleportation array of the Feng family, Ouyang Haoshuan suddenly soared into the air and gently swung the Red Lotus sword. The Great Elder, who was about to activate the teleportation array, suddenly felt a strong crisis. When he turned around, he saw a red flame flashing along the long red sword, which looked like a female saber, and rushing toward him. The Great Elder wanted to take out his defensive magic weapon, but he couldn't. Only then did he remember that his storage ring had been taken away when he was caught. It's still fine. Ouyang Haoshuan is only at the Gold Core stage. I'm at the Nascent Soul stage, intermediate stage. Can it be that my protective shield can't block a Gold Core stage attack? The Great Elder cast his shield. The flame was really blocked by it. Just as the Great Elder smiled, he suddenly looked shocked. The next moment, the protective shield shattered. Immediately afterward, the flame swept toward him. The overwhelming burning pain made him scream and roll around. Ouyang Haoshuan sneered, his smile was elegant and cruel. All the people present looked at him with weird eyes and kept silent. Apart from the sound of the wind, what they heard was the heart-piercing screams of the Great Elder, who was being burned, but couldn't be burned to death no matter what. Xian Wu swallowed. He looked at Ouyang Haoshuan and said, "Brother Ouyang, have you advanced to the Nascent Soul stage?" Ouyang Haoshuan nodded, but he did not speak. He just looked at the distant sky. There were white clouds and green mountains towering into the sky, but there was nothing else. But there is also the direction of Jinling Kingdom City, his once warm and happy home. Ouyang Haoshuan closed his eyes, feeling the turbulent emotions beating his heart like waves, but his face was calm. Ouyang Haoshuan felt very reconciled for not being able to skin that bastard Feng Yunjing with his own hands and make him taste the feeling of living hell. However, thinking that it was Xiao who killed Feng Yunjing herself, he felt relieved. The revenge has taken, but my family also disappeared. Now, the only thing left for me is Xiao. General Xian, Mr. Ouyang. An Iron Kirin soldier said anxiously. Great news. We're thrilled to announce a special 7-day trial exclusively on Patreons. Chapter 1470, Feng Lianying was missing. Ouyang Haoshuan turned around and heard Xian Wu ask, "What happened?" "Feng Lianying is gone." "What?" Xian Wu was startled. This was the person whom the master and the princess had named to capture. How did she escape? The Iron Kirin soldier shook his head and said, "We have known the place where Feng Lianying was imprisoned, but when we arrived, the stone door of that place had been opened. There was no trace of Feng Lianying inside. In addition, we found one less person in the Feng family." "Who is it?" "Nie Jinchen." Xian Wu frowned suddenly. He knew that Nie Jinchen had been secretly in love with Feng Lianying for many years. Could it be that Nie Jinchen rescued Feng Lianying? What should we do now? Xian Wu knew that Feng Lianying and Feng Yunjing were the members of the Feng family that his master wanted to kill the most, but now Feng Lianying actually ran away. Ouyang Haoshuan squinted and said coldly, "I will chase Feng Lianying and Nie Jinchen. I'll leave the matter here to you." "How did you find?" However, before Xian Wu could finish speaking, Ouyang Haoshuan turned into a ball of flame and flew toward the southwest direction. Feeling the incoming scorching flames, Xian Wu took a deep breath. "Ouyang Haoshuan, I remembered that as early as half a year ago, this young man was just an ordinary martial artist at the Gold Core stage, intermediate stage. But now, his strength has reached the Nascent Soul stage. Even when facing him, I feel more pressure than when facing Wu Xing. Moreover, the dark aura emanating from this young man seemed to have climbed up from hell, making people shudder when they see his eyes. Ouyang Haoshuan. Is he good or bad for the master and princess?" Xian Wu sighed and put all these aside, then he let Iron Kirin continue to sweep Feng family. After tens of millions of years of accumulation, the wealth of the Feng family was unimaginably rich. The master said that all of them would be swept away as a dowry gift for his master to marry the princess. This trip to the magical beast forest, Miracle Healer Academy suffered a complete failure. Not to mention that the mission was not completed, several students died due to the attack of the magical beasts and the outbreak of the corpse puppet virus. However, because of Shiyu's return, everyone was full of smiles again. Because in the boundary of the magical beast forest, everyone dared not fly, fearing to trigger the attack of those beastkins, so they could only leave the magical beast forest first, then they took the airship to Miracle Healer Academy. Of course He knew that those beastkins would not attack them again, but in the confinement space, many students lost their relatives and friends because of the magical beast's attack. He would be stupid to say that she had a good relationship with the beastkins. While walking, there was a weak cry for help not far away. Immediately afterward, a disheveled woman stumbled over and fell in front of Deputy Dean Jiang. After seeing the face of the person, the student standing in the front row couldn't help exclaiming, "Lu Jishi?" The girl who asked for help was Lu Jishi. She looked very miserable at this time. The clothes on her body were tattered. There were wounds caused by branches all over her body. But the strange thing was that the disgusting rotten wound on her face before she disappeared was gone. Lu Jishi's appearance was delicate and beautiful now. Although there were many wounds on her body, instead of looking ugly, she looked more pitiful and alluring. Great news! We're thrilled to announce a special 7-day trial exclusively on Patreons. Chapter 1471, Shriveled Corpse. In particular, Lu Jishi's clothes were tattered, revealing her pretty chest. Her thighs were even more glistening in the sun. Several young men couldn't help swallowing after seeing her in such a state. The people at Huang Medical Branch hated Lu Jishi to the bone. This woman wanted to make trouble for Shi Yu when she was breaking through. She almost killed all of them with outsiders. Now she still had the nerve to pretend to be pitiful. Qian Dazhuang spat out a mouthful of phlegm at Lu Jishi's half-exposed chest and said with disgust, "Bah! Help? Help what? I haven't settled the scores with you yet. You dare to scream for help? Who are you trying to fool?" Lu Jishi looked at the mouthful of phlegm sticking to her skin, and she almost vomited in disgust. However, Lu Jishi finally forced himself to endure it, wiped his tears, and cried in panic, "Beastkin, there was a beastkin who killed everyone in front. They all died miserably. I'm so scared." Woo. Deputy Dean Jiang and the others were shocked when they heard this. Many students showed panicked expressions. Do those beastkins really plan not to let us go? They want to kill us all in the magical beast forest. Wei Chengyuan frowned and said, "You said there was a beastkin killing people. What kind of beastkin? How many people were killed? How did you escape?" Lu Jishi shook her head with tearful eyes. "I don't know what beastkin is it. I only saw the shadow of a monster. He kidnapped us, then he killed the elders of the Doctors Association and the students of the Pioneer Branch. Woo. I was lucky to escape from death." Wei Chengyuan squinted and glanced at Lu Jishi. He felt that the woman was lying. Zheng Shouyue stroked his beard and said, "Tie up Lu Jishi first, then let's go to the place," she said. In any case, Lu Jishi colluded with the Doctors Association, so she couldn't escape from the crime of murdering her classmates. When they arrived at the place Lu Jishi mentioned, everyone couldn't help but gasp when they saw the shriveled corpses there. 8 martial artists at the nascent soul stage and a few at the gold core stage, were all sucked into mummies. What kind of spell is this, and what beastkin did it? He frowned when she saw the corpses. She took a few steps forward and examined the dantians and meridians of the mummies. Sure enough, their spiritual power and vitality disappeared completely. Rather than saying it was done by the beastkin, it was done by a terrifying devouring force. She raised her head and glanced at Nan Gongyu. They saw a trace of shock and understanding in each other's eyes. It was Lu Xiyang. Because Nangongyu hurt Lu Xiyang absorbed the vitality of these people. This mean is so ruthless. He didn't even let go of his subordinates. Jiang Din, Zhishi was just confused. She was coerced by the Doctors' Association at that time, so she did that stupid act. Dean, please forgive her. Yeah. What's more, isn't Xia doing well now? Zhishi has suffered such a disaster. No matter how serious the crime is, it should be cleared. Dean, don't you think so? The anxious and pity voices of the students of the Pioneer branch came from behind. He turned around and saw a young man of the Pioneer branch helping Lu Zhishi, who was tied up. Lu Zhishi's clothes were half uncovered. Her frail and boneless body leaned against the young man's body. Her soft chest rubbed against the young man's arm, making him flush and infatuated. Great news! We're thrilled to announce a special 7-day trial exclusively on Patreons. Chapter 1472, Fabricate Lies. The young man became even more indignant, feeling that he was protecting the weak president. Dean, Zhishi has worked hard as the president of the Academy's Student Council, and she has done a lot for the Academy. Even if she hasn't done anything particularly noteworthy, she has still made great efforts. Are you going to sacrifice Zhishi just for Xiu? Bah! Qian Dazhuang couldn't listen anymore. He cursed, this ruthless bitch. Did she just make a little mistake? She literally wanted to kill Xiu. Why should we let her go? Have you forgotten how many people died from the corpse puppet virus because of her? When Lu Zhishi heard Qian Dazhuang's words, crystal tears welled up in her eyes. She looked extremely pitiful. She walked up to He slowly and knelt down toward He with a plop. Xiu, I admit that I was blinded by hatred before. I was threatened by the elders of the Doctors' Association, so I did something that hurt you. But these things, including poisoning the people of Miracle Healer Academy, were all done by Elder Qi and the others on their own initiative. I just couldn't help myself. It has nothing to do with my father either. I hate you so much only because I'm angry that you seduced the King of Hell, spoke ill of me in front of the King of Hell, made the King of Hell despise me, but he instead likes a man like you. That would make him be condemned by everyone in the world. Lu Zhishi cried more and more sadly. Now I know that I was wrong. For the sake of giving His Highness King of Hell to you, please forgive me. From now on, I will never compete with you again. He half smiled and looked up at Nangongyu. You give him to me? Nangongyu stared coldly at the more alluring woman who deliberately twisted her body to reveal her chest line, and his aura suddenly burst out. Dare to fabricate lies in front of me and Sheer, this woman must be tired of living. The pitiful Lu Zhishi, who was crying, was stiff all over as if she was suddenly poured by a basin of ice water in winter. Nangongyu grabbed her neck and lifted her up high. His dark eyes were as deep as the abyss. If you dare, you can say one more sentence. You said that you have something to do with King of Hell. You said that Sheer took the King of Hell from you. Sorry. Why don't I know about this? You are, what? Lu Zhishi spoke with difficulty. Her feet kicked desperately, trying to struggle out of Nangongyu's grasp. Nangongyu suddenly took off the mask on his face. All of a sudden, everyone's eyes were on his face, and there was a neat gasp. God, how could there be such a handsome and graceful man in the world? The sun shone on his handsome and delicate face and on his nose bridge, seeming to cast a layer of golden light on him. Just a light sweep of the deep starry eyes made people's legs tremble. They wished they could crawl on the ground and lick his shoes. It was clear that the students who would enter Miracle Healer Academy were the most proud and elite geniuses of Miluo continent, but these geniuses were inconspicuous in front of this man. It's King of Hell Nangongyu. Someone exclaimed in surprise. Then everyone's eyes lit up, and they couldn't help staring at him excitedly. This is King of Hell Nangongyu, the god of war who broke through the nascent soul stage when he was less than 20 years old. The first genius of the Miluo continent? Even Lu Zhishi, whose throat was clutched by Nangong Yu, was stunned. Her frightened eyes turned into fascination. She stared blankly at the handsome and beautiful face in front. Great news! We're thrilled to announce a special 7-day trial exclusively on Patreons. Chapter 1473, These idiots. Nangong Yu slowly tightened his hand on Lu Zhishi's neck. There was a cruel smile on his mouth. What are you? You have the nerve to say that I have an affair with you. You aren't even worth lifting Xiao's shoes. There was a horrible clicking sound from the tightly squeezed throat. The obsession in Lu Zhishi's eyes turned into fear again, as well as deep jealousy and resentment. Seeing that Lu Zhishi was about to be strangled to death, the dean from the pioneer branch of Miracle Healer Academy quickly stood up and shouted nervously, "Your Royal Highness King of Hell, please be merciful. Zhishi is still a student of our Miracle Healer Academy. Please," Deputy Dean Jiang also said nervously, "please let us handle her, King of Hell." No matter how much Deputy Dean Jiang and the others hated the Doctors' Association now, as long as Lu Xuyang still existed, they would not be able to directly confront the Doctors' Association, so Lu Zhishi must be kept. As for the enmity with the Doctors' Association, of course they would find a way to avenge it. Nangong Yu sneered and shook his hand. Lu Zhishi was thrown out like rubbish, hit a tree hard, and then spat out a mouthful of blood. Nangong Yu said coldly without even looking at her, "Don't appear in front of Xiao again and stop your dirty tricks, otherwise I will let you know what is worse than death." After finishing speaking, he hugged Xiao, flew up, and flew out of the magical beast forest. No one would doubt whether a magical beast would come to attack Nangong Yu, because he could instantly kill nascent soul stage martial artists. Those beastkins would be stupid enough to provoke them. Everyone who stayed in place looked at each other in dismay and shock. Zhang Yi suddenly exclaimed, "It turned out that the unattractive brother guard was disguised by King of Hell Nangong Yu, no wonder. How can the brother guard be worthy of brother Xiyu? Hehe, I think King of Hell looks better than Senior Xian Mu." Qian Dazhuang immediately retorted, "What's the use of being good-looking? I think Senior Xian Mu is stronger and more reliable. I think it's better for Xiyu to choose Senior Xian Mu." Wei Chengyuan, you idiots. Don't you realize something wrong in this? King of Hell is a man, Xian Mu is a man, and Xiyu is a man. Jin Ziyu's cold eyes swept across Lu Zhishi not far away, who was wiping tears and accepting comfort from the students of the Pioneer branch, and he frowned slightly. "I remember that before Lu Zhishi left, she was poisoned by the corpse puppet virus. The wound on her face couldn't be healed with spiritual power. Why did she recover after just one day? Why does she still come back in a servile manner? She even doesn't hesitate to let the students of the Pioneer branch to plead for her. What exactly is she trying to do?" Jin Ziyu and Wei Chengyuan looked at each other, and they both saw the solemnity in each other's eyes. Jin Ziyu said to Qin Xiaofeng, who was beside him, after returning to the academy, "Pay close attention to Lu Zhishi's movements. Remember to tell me and Wei Chengyuan if there is anything unusual." The news of the extermination of the Feng family swept through the entire Miluo continent like a hurricane. In the past few years, the Feng family had done all kinds of bad deeds with their overwhelming strength. They had killed countless people and destroyed many sections. Now that the Feng family had been wiped out, many people were secretly laughing. Some people bowed down to the grassy tomb, thanking God for avenging their vengeance. Jiang Huai, who lost his wife and son in sealed dragon domain and had been making recording talismans for Heshi, was one of them. Great news! We're thrilled to announce a special 7-day trial exclusively on Patreons. Chapter 1474, Turned hostile. However, Jiang Huai did not know that Feng Lianying was not dead yet. But now, she was not much better than death. Feng Lianying escaped from Feng family and wanted to go to the extreme northern ice land, where her master, the master of the Thousand Poison Valley, lived. But, where was the land of the extreme northern ice land? It at least took more than half a month to travel even with the fastest airship. Feng family in Thousand Poison Valley originally had a teleportation array, but it required a large amount of high-grade crystal stones, but now, Feng family was destroyed and was surrounded by the Iron Kirin. If Feng Lianying wanted to go to Thousand Poison Valley, she could only fly there. Nie Jinchen had been by Feng Lianying's side, accompanying her to the ice land. This also made Feng Lianying feel better. At least her charm really completely fascinated Nie Jinchen. Even at this time, Nie Jinchen didn't leave her. However, without the crystal stones, Feng Lianying couldn't even get a good rest under the pursuit of the King of Hell Mansion and Xingda Hall all over the continent. Her storage device was even confiscated when she was confined. How could a noble lady like Feng Lianying endure such a life? At dusk, they landed in a mountain field. Feng Lianying couldn't bear this hard life anymore, and she angrily shouted at Nie Jinchen, "You trash can't even find a spiritual food. Do you want me to starve to death on the way? Or do you think that I have lost power now, so you don't take me seriously? Let me tell you, after turning over this mountain, we will reach the ice land where my master lives. When I get there, I will let you suffer." Nie Jinchen's eyes dimmed with a hint of ruthlessness. But he still showed a gentle smile and said, "Lianying, don't be angry. I'll get you some fruit and water." Feng Lianying cursed a few more times. Seeing Nie Jinchen walk away, she took out her dagger and stabbed it into the ground, cursing, Shiyu, Shiyu. You must die. I will let you die terribly." Nie Jinchen quickly brought back the water along with a few shriveled fruits. Feng Lianying took the fruits with a cold face, took a bite with disgust on his face, then spat on the ground. "Is this even edible? Nie Jinchen, why are you so useless?" However, Nie Jinchen still had a good-tempered smile. She fed the water to Feng Lianying's mouth and gave her a spirit-healing pill. Watching her eat the pill, he sneered. Feng Lianying didn't know when she fell asleep, but she only remembered that she lost consciousness after drinking the water. When she regained consciousness, she only felt incomparably severe pain in her limbs and lower abdomen. She couldn't help crying immediately due to the pain. Nie Jinchen's laughing voice suddenly came from above. "Feng Lianying, how is the feeling of dantian being abolished and the tendons and veins of limbs being severed? Does it feel good?" Feng Lianying widened her eyes and looked at the man looking down at her in disbelief. "Nie Jinchen, what did you do to me? What did I do?" Nie Jinchen sneered with a sinister gaze. "I abolished your cultivation. From now on, you, Feng Lianying, are no longer the miss of the Feng family, but a trash that can be bullied and trampled at will. How could you treat me like this?" Feng Lianying mobilized dantian, feeling a burning pain instead of spiritual power. She suddenly panicked. "Nie Jinchen, how dare you do this to me? Are you not afraid that my master will rip you apart?" You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.